There are places in the world where time folds in on itself, where the line between history and myth blurs into shadow. And perhaps no land holds more secrets, more haunting silence than ancient Egypt. Beneath the scorching sands and within the crumbling stone of temples that have outlasted empires, something lingers, enigmas that refuse to be unravelled. How did primitive tools carve granite with the precision of a modern lathe? Why do some tombs bear scorch marks as if burned by technologies that shouldn't exist? And who or what lies behind the perfect alignment of pyramids with stars older than civilization itself? For centuries, science has tried to pierce the veil of Egypt's mysteries, but the deeper we dig, the more elusive the answers become. These are not just relics of the past, they are questions etched in stone waiting. In the next 3 hours, we will journey into the heart of these riddles through forbidden chambers, ancient blueprints, and theories that challenge the very limits of what we think we know. So sit back, relax, and let's dive deeper into the mystery of ancient Egypt. At the edge of the Giza Plateau, where the Nile once flooded with seasonal rhythm, a colossus gazes east, silent, immovable, eternal. Carved from a single mass of limestone, the Great Sphinx rises from the sand like a sentinel of lost time. Its lion's body stretches nearly 240 feet, and its human face, worn by wind, time, and perhaps more, stares unblinking into the rising sun. It is one of the oldest and most enigmatic monuments in the world. And beneath its massive paws, according to legends, both ancient and modern, lies something extraordinary, something hidden, something deliberately buried. The Hall of Records to the ancient Egyptians' knowledge was sacred. It was May-order, truth, balance, preserved in writing, ritual, and stone. They inscribed stories on temple walls, mapped the stars with astonishing accuracy, and left behind one of the most enduring civilizations in human history. And yet, there are hints that not all knowledge was meant to be seen. References to a Hall of Records first gained traction in the 20th century, but their roots may reach back far further. According to esoteric traditions, this hall is not merely a library, but a vault of humanity's forgotten past, an archive of Atlantean knowledge, preserved beneath the Sphinx in anticipation of a future awakening. The idea evokes fascination and skepticism. Mainstream archaeology has never confirmed the existence of such a chamber, and yet anomalies persist. In 1993, a team using ground-penetrating radar identified several unexplained cavities beneath the Giza Plateau, one in particular beneath the front paws of the Sphinx. The data showed a rectangular void sharply defined lying at a depth and orientation inconsistent with natural fissures in the bedrock. To this day, that cavity remains unexcavated. Official explanations attribute it to natural erosion or structural settling, but others wonder if it was so easily dismissed. Why has it never been thoroughly explored? Some point to inscriptions found at the Temple of Edfu, hundreds of miles to the south. These texts, written long after the Sphinx's construction, speak of the primordial mound, the island of creation, and a time before the flood, before dynastic Egypt, when divine knowledge was passed down to a chosen few. The language is mythic, poetic, veiled in metaphor, but could it be echoing a memory of something real? Edgar Cayce, the so-called sleeping prophet, is among the most well-known proponents of the Hall of Records theory. In the early 20th century, he claimed while in a trance state that survivors of Atlantis hid their records of civilization's birth beneath the Sphinx, sealed until a time when humanity was ready to rediscover its origins. According to Cayce, this chamber would be uncovered near the end of the 20th century. It wasn't, but the mystery didn't fade. Egyptologist Dr. Zahi Hawass, one of the most prominent voices in the field, has repeatedly denied the existence of any such chamber, often citing a lack of evidence and a desire to protect Egypt's archaeological integrity from what he calls pseudoscience. Still, even he has acknowledged the radar anomalies beneath the Sphinx, though he attributes them to naturally occurring features. For some, these conflicting narratives only deepen the intrigue. Is the Hall of Records merely a myth built upon coincidence and hopeful imagination, or has something truly been hidden, either by nature or by design? Interestingly, the Great Sphinx itself is a puzzle. Its age remains hotly debated, while the conventional view places its construction during the reign of Pharaoh around Tutankhamun's 500 B. Some geologists, most notably Dr. Robert Schoch, have argued that the weathering patterns on the Sphinx's enclosure suggest exposure to heavy rainfall thousands of years earlier. If true, this would place the Sphinx's origin in a much earlier era, one not accounted for in mainstream Egyptian chronology, And if the Sphinx is older than we think, then what else might we have misjudged? The question of access adds yet another layer to the mystery. There are known shafts and tunnels in and around the Sphinx enclosure. Some were explored in the early 20th century, but later sealed. The Egyptian government has since restricted further digging beneath the monument. Whether for preservation or for other reasons is unclear. Some researchers believe permits have been denied due to fear of undermining Egypt's official historical narrative. Others suspect a more practical reason, concern over damage to the structure. Still, the idea persists that buried deep beneath the sands of Giza is a doorway not just to a chamber of scrolls or tablets, but to a history long erased, a story that could redefine what we know about the human journey. Is it possible that remnants of a pre-dynastic civilization, one lost to flood or fire or time, could lie preserved in stone sealed in the dry heart of the desert? Could the Hall of Records be less about a literal library, and more a metaphor for encoded knowledge hidden in the architecture, the alignments, the symbols themselves? These are not questions with easy answers. No definitive proof has been brought to light. But in a place like Giza, where the stones themselves seem to whisper of forgotten truths, the absence of evidence is not the absence of possibility. And so the Sphinx remains as it always has, watching, waiting, a riddle carved in silence. Beneath it, the sands conceal more than just stone and shadow. They cradle potential, unresolved, untapped. What might we find if we dared to look deeper? As the desert sun drifts westward over the Giza plateau, casting long shadows across ancient stone, we leave the silent gaze of the Sphinx and step deeper into the realm of the unknown. Beneath the sands, where time and secrecy converge, stories persist of something once vast, once sacred, and now concealed. They call it the Forbidden Library. Not marked on maps, not listed in inventories of temples or tombs, this fabled collection is whispered of in the same breath as Atlantis, the wisdom of the ancients. While no definitive discovery has ever brought it to light, references fragmentary and elusive have filtered through time like messages half remembered from a dream. According to some traditions, the Forbidden Library was a great archive of esoteric knowledge, texts said to contain the origins of human civilization, the secrets of the cosmos, and the hidden workings of the soul, a treasury of forbidden science and metaphysical insight preserved at a time when humanity was perhaps closer to the divine. Where could such a library have stood? Some researchers point toward the ancient city of Hermopolis, sacred to Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing and magic. To the Egyptians, Thoth was not merely a scribe. He was the keeper of universal law, the master of hidden knowledge. His role was not to create the cosmos, but to record it, to give it order through language and symbol. Could temples built in his honour have once housed scrolls or codices that challenged accepted paradigms of history, astronomy, or the human spirit? Historical texts offered tantalising clues. The Book of Thoth, referenced in several ancient sources, was said to grant its reader vast powers, control over the earth, the sea, and even the afterlife. Though scholars believe it to be mythical or allegorical, the persistence of the legend suggests something more. A cultural memory of texts so potent, so transgressive that they had to be hidden or destroyed. Then there is the famed Library of Alexandria, whose tragic loss remains one of the most mourned events in the intellectual history of humanity. While the Library of Alexandria was Greek in its final form, many believe its foundation drew from much older sources. Perhaps even Egyptian archives were lost long before the city itself rose to prominence. Some go further, claiming the Forbidden Library was not in Alexandria at all, but somewhere else entirely, older, deeper, concealed with purpose. In 2008, during routine restoration work beneath the Temple of the Serapeum in Saqqara, archaeologists uncovered a series of subterranean galleries filled with massive stone sarcophagi. While their original purpose remains unclear, some suggest burial chambers for Apis bulls, others propose ritual or symbolic uses. The scale and craftsmanship are extraordinary. Could these chambers have once served another function? Might they have formed part of a hidden archive, one whose purpose has long been misunderstood? We also have the case of the Labyrinth of Huara, described in vivid detail by Herodotus Strabo and other classical writers. According to their accounts, this massive complex located near the pyramid of Amenemhat III was said to contain over 3,000 rooms filled with inscriptions, histories, and sacred knowledge. Herodotus himself claimed that what he saw there exceeded even the pyramids in grandeur. Yet today, only the faintest ruins remain. Was the labyrinth truly destroyed, or has its most vital chamber yet to be uncovered? Modern efforts to locate hidden chambers beneath Egypt's ancient structures have yielded compelling but inconclusive results. Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging have on multiple occasions revealed voids behind or beneath sealed walls, most famously in the tomb of Tutankhamun and inside the Great Pyramid. Official investigations often suggest these are natural anomalies or unused architectural features, yet the timing and geometry of these anomalies raise questions. Why would such perfectly shaped voids be carved into otherwise solid stone? Why are so many located behind sealed passages or beneath foundational platforms? Could they have once stored documents, artifacts, or something more abstract? Fringe researchers argue that the Forbidden Library may not be a single location, but a network of hidden repositories scattered across the Nile Valley, each guarded symbolically or literally by priesthoods sworn to secrecy. Some even believe the knowledge was encoded not just in scrolls but in the architecture itself. Mathematical constants, astronomical alignments, symbolic ratios, clues embedded in stone for those who know how to read them. And then of course there is the matter of secrecy. In ancient Egypt, knowledge was power. Sacred writings, particularly those dealing with the afterlife, creation and cosmology, were reserved for the initiated, priests, scribes and pharaohs. Ordinary citizens were not permitted to read them. Even among the elite, certain texts were restricted to those of a particular rank or spiritual status. Could the Forbidden Library, if it existed, have been reserved only for the highest initiates of Egypt's mystery schools? It is not difficult to imagine that as foreign invasions loomed, Persian, Greek, Roman, those sworn to protect this knowledge may have taken great pains to hide it. And if so, where might they have succeeded? We return once again to a desert landscape shaped by time and memory. Beneath the sand, beneath the stone, beneath what we think we know, something stirs. Perhaps just echoes, myths, and half-truths, or perhaps waiting still. A library not lost, but simply undiscovered. What truths, what histories might lie sealed in forgotten vaults, waiting for a shift in consciousness, or for someone to ask the right question? And if the Forbidden Library does exist, if its secrets survive beneath layers of earth and silence, what would it tell us about who we are and who we were meant to become? If ancient Egypt was a civilization built on layers of stone, of time, of meaning, then perhaps no site exemplifies that hidden complexity more than a place once known to the ancients as a marvel beyond the pyramids themselves. South of Cairo, near the modern village of Huara, a quiet stretch of land lies largely unremarked by tourists. But beneath this dusty expanse, archaeologists believe it once stood one of the greatest architectural achievements of the ancient world. A structure so vast, so intricate that those who witnessed it firsthand struggled to describe its magnitude. It was called the Labyrinth. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, who visited Egypt in the 5th century BCE, the labyrinth was a sprawling complex of 3,000 chambers, half above ground, half below. He wrote in awe of its scale, saying, "I found it greater than even the pyramids." He wasn't alone. Later writers, including Strabo and Diodorus, offered similar accounts of massive halls, colonnades, and chambers intricately arranged and inscribed with the sacred knowledge of the Egyptians. But today there is no monumental structure to see, no towering ruins, no endless passageways. Only the faintest remnants remain: eroded blocks, foundation stones, and fragments of statuary scattered across the desert floor. What happened to this colossal complex? And why has such a significant marvel of engineering all but vanished? Mainstream archaeology tells us that the labyrinth was likely built during the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, around 1800 BCE during Egypt's Middle Kingdom. Situated near his pyramid at Hera, the complex may have served as a mortuary temple, housing administrative offices, ritual chambers, and perhaps even judicial courts. The original structure was believed to have been made primarily of limestone, which may explain its near-total disappearance. Later civilizations, including the Romans, likely quarried its stones for their own constructions. Still, questions persist. In 2008, a team of researchers from Belgium and Egypt, known as the Mataha Expedition, conducted ground-penetrating radar surveys of the area. Their results were striking. Beneath the surface, at a depth of several meters, they identified a series of geometric anomalies. rectangular patterns suggesting the presence of man-made walls, rooms, and corridors. According to the team, the underground structure appeared to align with the classical descriptions of the labyrinth. And yet their findings were not widely publicised, and formal excavations were never permitted. Why? Some cite bureaucratic obstacles, a lack of funding, or concerns about destabilising the overlying structures. Others believe the site's potential to upend accepted timelines or historical narratives may be a reason for caution. Regardless of motive, the site remains largely untouched. The suspected ruins entombed beneath layers of Nile silt and time, and so speculation has filled the silence. Could the labyrinth have been more than a temple complex? Was it, as some fringe researchers suggest, a repository of hidden knowledge, a counterpart to the so-called Forbidden Library? One version of the theory proposes that the underground chambers held sacred texts, records of pre-dynastic civilizations, or even information left by lost cultures long before the rise of Pharaonic Egypt. Others go further still, suggesting that the labyrinth's architecture itself was symbolic, possibly encoded with mathematical or cosmological principles meant to convey a deeper understanding of reality. The idea echoes similar interpretations of the Great Pyramid, where proportions, alignments, and geometry are thought by some to contain messages in stone, messages left not just for the ancient Egyptians, but for humanity at large. Is it possible that the labyrinth was designed to protect such knowledge? That its complexity wasn't merely architectural but philosophical, structured to conceal, reveal, or initiate? The underground nature of the site adds another layer of intrigue. Ancient texts and oral traditions often link subterranean spaces with transformation, secrecy, or rebirth. In Egyptian belief, the underworld, or dust, was a realm of trial and revelation. Was the labyrinth a symbolic passage through that realm? A ritual landscape designed to mirror the soul's journey? Yet despite centuries of interest, no full excavation of the site has ever occurred. Some walls have been exposed, stones examined, but the deeper chambers, if they exist, remain buried. Some have proposed that rising groundwater has made exploration difficult, if not impossible. Others believe that what lies beneath is simply too fragile or too politically sensitive to risk disturbing. Still, the accounts persist. Herodotus claimed he was shown only the upper chambers. The lower levels were restricted, reserved for the tombs of kings and crocodiles, and perhaps something more. If those subterranean halls remain intact, preserved beneath the layers of history and hesitation, what might they contain? We can only wonder. In a land that has given us pyramids aligned to the stars, temples filled with astronomical ceilings, and tombs inscribed with sacred texts meant to guide the soul beyond death, the notion of a lost labyrinth, a forgotten maze beneath the sands, feels strangely plausible. It would not be the first time Egypt has kept its secrets hidden in plain sight. Today the ruins of Hara are silent. The winds sweep across low mounds of stone where tourists rarely tread. But below the surface, perhaps an ancient order still sleeps. Chambers not yet seen. Corridors that may hold keys to the past or to a version of history we've yet to fully imagine. What might we uncover if the doors to the labyrinth were opened once more? And more importantly, are we ready to understand what lies within? As we leave the shadowed corridors of the lost labyrinth, our journey turns toward the very walls that have long spoken for ancient Egypt. Its reliefs etched in stone, frozen in time. These are the surfaces through which a silent civilization still whispers. Tales of gods and kings, rituals and myths. But occasionally among the familiar images of pharaohs and deities, something appears that is not so easily understood. Figures with elongated heads, large almond-shaped eyes, bodies rendered in forms that seem both human and distinctly not. These are not the gods of the traditional Egyptian pantheon. They do not resemble Anubis, Horus, or Theeth. They are something else entirely, anomalies carved into stone, often tucked in less prominent places, frequently missed by the casual observer. Some researchers refer to them simply as alien-like figures. We begin in the Temple of Seti at Abydos, one of the most carefully preserved and intricately decorated temples in all of Egypt. High along a ceiling beam in the Hypoel Hall, a series of hieroglyphic symbols have stirred debate for decades. When viewed from a certain angle, they appear to resemble modern vehicles: a helicopter, a submarine, and perhaps most controversially, a spacecraft. Egyptologists have offered a conventional explanation. palms inscriptions where newer carvings were made atop older ones, creating unintentional composite shapes. But for some, the images remain strikingly precise. Not far from Abydos, in the remote desert site of Elias, archaeologists uncovered the tomb of a Middle Kingdom named Utiotiab. Among the conventional art and depictions of daily life lies an unusual relief, one that appears to show a being with a narrow face, slanted eyes, and an oddly proportioned skull. Interpretations vary. Some say it's merely a distorted artistic style, a localized expression. Others point out the consistency of such features across a variety of unconnected sites. Indeed, this phenomenon is not isolated. In the Valley of the Kings, in tombs thought to be reserved for royal or religious elites, similar figures occasionally appear, not always in focus, not always central to the scene, but present. Their forms sometimes lack the typical symmetry of Egyptian representation. Their heads are often too large, their eyes too wide, and they do not match the canon of Egyptian art, which was rigidly standardized for millennia. Could these be representations of mythological beings? Egypt's pantheon is full of gods with animal heads, composite forms, and supernatural attributes. Might these so-called alien-like figures simply be forgotten deities now lost in the eroded pages of myth? Or are we witnessing something else? Some have drawn attention to the depictions of the god Osiris, often shown with a tall narrow crown and a thin elongated face. In certain interpretations, Osiris represents more than a god of the afterlife. He is a bringer of civilization, a being who descends from the heavens, rules justly, and then disappears into the underworld. Could Osiris be a symbolic echo of something or someone that arrived from beyond the ordinary human sphere? Mainstream scholars caution against this line of thinking. They remind us that artistic abstraction, regional stylistic differences, and erosion can all create images that look foreign to our modern eyes. The ancient world, they argue, was complex and metaphorical. What appears alien may be divine, ceremonial, or simply misunderstood. Still, there are moments that invite pause. In the tomb of Totep at Saqqara, dating back to the 5th dynasty, there is a scene that some describe as unsettling. It depicts a row of seated figures, 4 humans and 1 markedly different being. The 5th figure is taller, thinner, with an almost featureless face and large dark eyes. No name is given, no glyph explains its identity. How are we to interpret such imagery? Could these forms be symbolic, meant to represent the otherworldly realm of spirit or the afterlife? Or were the artists attempting to record something literal, something they witnessed or believed to be true? Some fringe theorists propose that these figures are depictions of extraterrestrial visitors encoded in religious iconography over centuries. They link this idea to global myths of sky gods, star travellers, and advanced beings who came to Earth in a forgotten epic. Yet even among alternative theorists there is disagreement. Some argue that these figures do not represent extraterrestrials at all, but rather a lost race of humans now extinct or hidden. Others suggest interdimensional entities, beings not of space but of altered states of consciousness, visions encountered during sacred rituals or through contact with the divine. The Egyptians did believe in a layered cosmos. They spoke of Duat, the hidden realm of the dead filled with guardians, serpents, and strange beings. The literary texts, including the Amdawat and the Book of Gates, depict the soul's journey through these realms in vivid, surreal imagery. Some of the figures in these texts bear little resemblance to anything terrestrial. Could the alien-like forms seen in Egyptian reliefs be reflections of this imagined landscape? Beings from beyond, yes, but beyond in a spiritual sense rather than a physical one. At the heart of this mystery lies a deeper question. What did the ancient Egyptians know or believe about the boundaries between the human and the divine, the earthly and the cosmic? Were these beings inventions of myth and ritual, or echoes of encounters long forgotten? For now, the figures remain, carved in stone gazing across millennia. Neither explained nor dismissed, they stand as sentinels of ambiguity, offering no answers, only questions. What did the artists see? What were they trying to preserve? And if we could truly understand the symbols they left behind, would we recognize the beings they depict as gods, ancestors, or something else entirely? As we step away from the enigmatic images carved in stone, faces too narrow, eyes too wide, postures too alien to dismiss without a second glance, we enter yet another puzzle etched into the heart of Egypt's legacy. But this one is not about what was depicted. It's about what was deliberately removed. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt left behind an overwhelming abundance of inscriptions, names chiseled into granite, achievements immortalized on temple walls, colossal statues bearing titles that declared divine right. To carve your name into eternity was not just an act of pride, it was essential. To be remembered was to live forever. To be forgotten was a second death. And yet somewhere within that grand tradition of eternal memory, there lies a deliberate void. The mystery of a ruler who seemed to vanish from history not by accident, but by design. A pharaoh whose traces are fragmented, whose identity was actively stripped from monuments, temples, and statues. A sovereign whose name was chiseled out, scraped off, overwritten. Who was this forgotten ruler? For many, the most striking example of this historical erasure is Akhenaten. Once known as Amenhotep IV, he was the so-called heretic king who radically changed Egypt's religion, abandoning the traditional pantheon in favour of a singular solar deity, the Iron. Akhenaten closed temples, moved the capital to a new city, Akhetaten, modern-day Amarna, and declared himself the sole intermediary between the divine and the people. His reign was revolutionary, controversial, and dangerous. After his death, the backlash was swift. His successors, perhaps including his son, the more famous Tutankhamun, restored the old gods and worked systematically to remove Akhenaten from memory. His statues were smashed, his name was omitted from king lists, his temples were dismantled, the stone was repurposed for other constructions, but Akhenaten is not alone in this fate. Some researchers suggest there may have been another, an even more elusive figure who was raised even more thoroughly. A ruler whose name has not yet been recovered. A pharaoh whose very existence remains a contested shadow between two well-known reigns. In the timeline of the 18th dynasty after the death of Akhenaten, and before the rise of Tutankhamun, the record grows murky, a period of transition, political instability and religious upheaval. Some inscriptions from this time refer to a monarch named Nefer-Neferuaten, a name that may have belonged to a co-regent, possibly Akhenaten's wife Nefertiti or his daughter Meritaten, but evidence is scarce and interpretations vary. There is also mention of a male ruler, possibly Smanka, whose origins and fate remain shrouded in mystery. Was he a brother, a son, a puppet king placed by the priesthood, or was he merely a placeholder, quickly expunged once power shifted? The fragments we do have are contradictory. A handful of tomb reliefs show a figure with royal regalia, but without clearly identifying titles. A few items from the tomb of Tutankhamun bear inscriptions that appear to have been hastily altered, names erased and overwritten, suggesting the reuse of dreary items once meant for another. Who was this ruler between the rulers? The question becomes more complex when we consider the broader implications. Why would a pharaoh's name be removed so thoroughly? Was it simply political retribution, or did they represent an ideology or threat so destabilizing that memory itself had to be destroyed? Egyptian belief held that to speak the name of the dead was to grant them life in the afterworld. To erase a name was to condemn the soul to oblivion. It was in every sense a spiritual execution. That such an act was taken against one of their own, a ruler no less, suggests not just a political scandal, but perhaps something even more disruptive. What could have warranted such drastic measures? This leads some theorists cautiously into more speculative territory. Could this forgotten pharaoh have represented knowledge or a lineage that had to be concealed? Were they perhaps associated with Akhenaten and solar cult in ways that were never fully recorded? Initiated into esoteric practices or philosophies deemed heretical, even dangerous? Others propose that this period may have involved a deeper schism within the royal court, one that threatened the very fabric of dynastic control. Could this ruler have attempted to carry forward Akhenaten's reforms in secret, or did they take those reforms further into realms of thought, belief, or power that traditionalists found too radical to tolerate? Some fringe researchers even speculate that the knowledge possessed by this missing figure may have been tied to ancient technologies, astronomical codes, or metaphysical beliefs not yet understood. These are theories not universally accepted, but they do arise in part because of the sheer scale of the erasure. Why such effort unless something profound was at stake? Mainstream Egyptology continues to tread cautiously through this terrain. Without definitive inscriptions, clear monuments, or named tombs, the story remains fragmented. And yet those fragments persist. Chisels marks where names were scraped away, faint outlines where carts once stood. In a civilization obsessed with eternity, the decision to eliminate someone from history was never taken lightly. It required labour, intention, and time. And the more we look at these scars, the erasers, the palimps, the ghostly absences, the more we are reminded that absence itself can be a kind of evidence. So we are left with the question, who was the pharaoh who tried or was forced to disappear? What secrets did they carry? What legacy were they trying to leave behind? And why was it so threatening to those who came after? Perhaps somewhere in the sands of Amarna, or in the storerooms of forgotten artifacts mislabeled or misunderstood, the name still lingers, waiting to be reassembled, rediscovered. Until then, the erased king remains a whisper in Egypt's grand chorus, a missing verse in a song thousands of years old. What truth lies beneath that silence? And what happens when we finally listen close enough to hear it? And so from the spectral echo of a name lost to time, we turn towards something far more permanent, something that has stood for over 400-500 years, defying erosion, defying understanding. If a forgotten ruler could be erased from memory, then perhaps the reverse is also true. Perhaps a structure can remember what history has chosen to forget. The Great Pyramid of Giza, rising with unwavering silence from the Giza Plateau, is more than just an icon of ancient engineering. It is the last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world still standing, an eternal sentinel watching over the sands. It has long drawn scholars, adventurers, and dreamers alike. With its polished limestone once gleaming under the desert sun, it must have looked less like a tomb and more like a beacon. But beyond its imposing exterior lies a greater mystery, one that resides not in what is seen, but in what remains hidden. For centuries, researchers have studied its construction, its alignments, its passages and chambers. Yet even today, with advanced tools and scanning technology, we are still discovering new spaces inside its ancient walls. The Great Pyramid is speaking to us, but in riddles. The interior is far simpler than many imagine. 3 known chambers, the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and an unfinished subterranean room connected by narrow corridors. Above the King's Chamber lie 5 granite stress-relieving compartments. For years this was thought to be all. But then in 2017, everything changed. Using a non-invasive scanning technology called Muon radiography, essentially a way of mapping empty space within solid mass by detecting cosmic particles, a team of international researchers announced something astonishing. Hidden above the Grand Gallery, they had detected a previously unknown void, a vast empty space at least 30 meters in length. It became known as the Big Void. No one had expected it. It was the first major internal structure found within the Great Pyramid since the 19th century. But what is it? No path currently leads to it. No writings mention it. It may be a structural cavity, an architectural feature created to reduce pressure on the Grand Gallery. That's the mainstream explanation. But even seasoned Egyptologists admit they don't fully understand its purpose. Could it be an undiscovered chamber? If so, why hide it? Theories range widely. Some suggest it could contain literary equipment, objects never recovered, perhaps even the true sarcophagus of Khufu, which some believe was never found. Others point to ancient legends. The Greek historian Herodotus once wrote of underground passages and secret rooms within the pyramids filled with treasures and knowledge. Could this void confirm ancient stories long dismissed as myth? Further complicating the mystery are the so-called air shafts leading from both the King's and Queen's chambers. Initially thought to be ventilation channels, they do not open to the outside in the Queen's chamber. Instead, they terminate abruptly, or do they? In 1993, a robotic probe named Upload 2 was sent into one of these shafts. After travelling several dozen meters, it encountered a small limestone door with 2 copper pins embedded in it. In it, the door was sealed. Behind it, no one knew. It was dubbed the Door to the Afterlife. Nearly a decade later, another robot, this time with a flexible camera, drilled a hole through that door. What it revealed was unexpected: a small empty cavity and another door. Another barrier is still unopened. What lies beyond? Some fringe theorists believe these shafts and voids are part of an ancient communication system designed not for the dead, but for something or someone else. Others suggest they may form part of a complex symbolic journey for the soul, aligning with specific stars like Orion and Sirius. Indeed, the Great Pyramid is aligned with such astronomical precision that even modern architects express awe. Was this monument designed as a tomb or as a machine? That question haunts even the most rational investigators. The Great Pyramid lacks inscriptions. There are no hieroglyphs explaining its purpose, no clear religious iconography, just a few work gang markings in hidden spaces, possibly graffiti from labourers. Could a structure of this magnitude requiring such exact engineering and manpower have been built solely as a pharaoh's tomb? Or did it serve another, more complex function? Some point to the acoustic properties of the king's chamber, where sound reverberates in curious ways. Others note the use of granite, a high quartz content stone, suggesting electromagnetic implications, though no evidence confirms any intended technological use. Still, the speculation persists. Was it an energy generator, a stellar observatory, a vault of ancient knowledge? Theories range from the plausible to the arcane. Some believe the pyramid conceals records from a lost civilization, perhaps even Atlantis, hidden behind false walls or within the big void. Others speak of resonant frequencies and subtle vibrations of sacred geometry, encoding forgotten laws of nature. Most scientists dismiss these ideas as pseudoscience, but even among skeptics, there remains a sense of awe because the Great Pyramid continues to surprise us. Its builders remain nameless to us. The methods used in hoisting massive granite blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, remain speculative. The precision of its placement, true north to within a fraction of a degree, continues to defy explanation, especially for a civilization without iron tools or the wheel. And now, with modern scanning technology revealing hollow spaces where there should be none, we are reminded that this monument has not yet yielded all its secrets. What were the architects of the Great Pyramid trying to preserve? Why hide chambers, if indeed they are chambers, so deeply and deliberately? And could it be that the most important part of the Great Pyramid is not what it contains, but what it conceals? For now the walls remain silent, but their silence is eloquent. Their symmetry, their mass, their very resistance to time all suggest intention, intelligence, purpose. As we stand beneath their shadow, we are left with a lingering thought. Perhaps the pyramid was never meant to be fully understood. Perhaps it was meant to outlast memory itself, to carry a message into a future far beyond its builders. The only question is, are we ready to hear it? If the Great Pyramid speaks in the language of precision and mass, of alignment and silence, then just a few hundred miles to the south, a different voice murmurs across time. Softer perhaps, but no less haunting. Where the pyramids command attention with their monumental presence, this place whispers, and the whispers speak of something far stranger. Deep in the Dendra temple complex, resting along the west bank of the Nile, lies one of Egypt's most enigmatic sanctuaries. It is not as colossal as Karnak nor as ancient as Saqqara, but here, within the elaborately carved limestone walls of the Temple of Hathor, the ordinary laws of time, some say, begin to fray. Dendera is luminous with myth. The temple is dedicated to Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, music and fertility. But this is no simple shrine to joy. The artwork that adorns its ceilings and columns is dense with symbolism. Winged discs, stars aligned in tight configurations, strange bulbous objects often dubbed Dendera lights, and perhaps most mysteriously the zodiac of Dendera. An astrological carving so precise it has sparked debate since the moment it was rediscovered. Yet among the many whispers surrounding this temple, one story stands apart. Stranger, quieter, rarely spoken in textbooks. A legend told not in inscriptions but passed down orally by visitors, explorers, and even local caretakers. A claim that within certain chambers of the temple, time reportedly stopped. Descriptions vary. Some say clocks cease to function when brought inside the deepest sanctuaries. Others speak of sensations of suspended motion, of hours felt like minutes or minutes stretching into something uncountable. Cameras malfunction, batteries drain, and for those especially sensitive, a heaviness, a timelessness is said to settle over the mind like the hush of a forgotten dream. Of course, such accounts are not universally accepted. No peer-reviewed study confirms the suspension of time at Dendera. Skeptics point to psychological effects, claustrophobia, suggestibility, the power of belief in sacred spaces. The human mind, after all, is as susceptible to mystery as it is to logic. But the pattern persists. Even seasoned researchers have remarked on an odd stillness inside the crypts. Those low-ceiling chambers beneath the temple floor where some of the most unusual reliefs are found. It was in one of these that the so-called Dendera light was carved. A strange motif resembling a lotus flower from which a bulb-like structure emerges, inside of which a serpent coils held aloft by a figure often interpreted as a priest or deity. Mainstream Egyptologists view it symbolically. They describe the motif as a depiction of a creation myth. The serpent represents divine energy. The lotus is an emblem of rebirth. But to others, especially in fringe circles, it appears unmistakably technological. A vacuum tube perhaps, or something even more advanced. A power source from a time we don't understand. These are theories not without controversy. There is no physical evidence of ancient electricity in Egypt. No copper wiring, no glass bulbs, no generators, and yet the image remains, and it is not alone. Other carvings in Dendera show curious figures, beings with large heads and narrow limbs, half human, half an animal composites that seem to blur the boundary between biology and symbolism. Astronomical charts in the ceiling depict not just the familiar planets, but complex celestial alignments that some claim would have required advanced observational tools. Could they have known something that modern history says they should not have? And what about the strange reports of time anomalies? Could these sensations be linked to geophysical phenomena? Dendera sits on top of deep limestone strata known to conduct and store subtle electrical charges. Some researchers have suggested that magnetic anomalies caused by mineral deposits or underground aquifers might subtly interfere with human perception. Others point to currents, natural electrical currents flowing through the earth, that might be more pronounced at certain ancient sites. Could it be that ancient builders understood these energies and constructed temples to harness or amplify them? The concept is not unprecedented. Across the ancient world, sacred spaces are often found on geomagnetic anomalies. Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, the Oracle of Delphi. Was Dendera built atop such a place deliberately, and if so, why? Then there is the matter of the temple's architecture itself. Unlike most Egyptian temples, the reliefs in Dendera are remarkably well preserved, retaining their sharpness and depth despite thousands of years of exposure. Some theorize that this preservation is more than luck or protection, that the builders employed techniques we do not fully comprehend. How were these carvings completed in total darkness? Official explanations suggest reflective mirrors were used to direct sunlight into the deepest corridors, but experiments have shown this method yields limited visibility. Torches too would leave soot. Yet little trace of such residue is found in many of Dendera's closed chambers. Once again, we are left with a possibility and a void. Is it simply awe and atmosphere that distorts our sense of time within the Temple of Hathra? Or is there something in the stone, in the alignment, in the ancient intention of this place that bends perception? And if so, was this temple built not just to honour the gods, but to access something deeper, something we no longer understand? As the wind moves through its worn columns and hieroglyphic walls, Dendera does not give up its answers easily. It is not a place that speaks in declarations. Instead, it offers quiet questions etched in stone, buried in geometry layered beneath centuries of sand and silence. In a world that moves ever faster, ever louder, there is something uncanny about a space where time feels like it slows or slips. Something that invites us to pause, to listen closely, because maybe, just maybe, something is still ticking, not on the surface, but below it. And the moment we finally learn to hear that sound again, whatever it is, we may find that the past was never as distant as we thought. As we leave behind the silent halls of Dendera, where time itself seems to hesitate, we move towards something equally elusive, something you can't see but can feel, a mystery that lies not in stone or inscription, but in vibration, in resonance, in sound. Beneath the towering weight of the Great Pyramid and its lesser-known siblings, Khafre, Menor, and the many-stepped and broken pyramids that scatter the desert, there exists a strange and persistent phenomenon. Not something carved into walls or encoded in hieroglyphs, but something alive in the air itself. Inside the pyramid's stone corridor, sound behaves differently. Visitors to the Great Pyramid of Giza often speak of a palpable shift upon entering the king's chamber. A granite room at the heart of the structure, lined with massive blocks, each placed with surgical precision. The acoustics here are stark, immediate. A single note sung aloud reverberates with unnatural clarity, hanging in the air far longer than expected. Some describe it as a feeling of being inside the sound. Is this simply the effect of closed architecture and stone-on-stone construction? Or could it be something more deliberate? In 1997, sound engineer Tom Danley conducted tests inside the king's chamber using advanced acoustic measurement tools. What he found startled even seasoned researchers. The chamber exhibited unusual resonant frequencies, specifically around 121 Hz in its harmonics. These were not random echoes, they were sustained tones forming a standing wave within the stone walls themselves. And these weren't just audible. The low frequencies produced measurable vibrations. Visitors standing in the chamber during certain experiments reported feeling the sound in their bodies, in their chest, in their bones. Some even spoke of altered mental states, lightheadedness, clarity, or emotional shifts that seemed disproportionate to the setting. Could the pyramid have been designed, at least in part, as a resonant structure? Mainstream Egyptologists remain cautious. The function of the pyramid is traditionally viewed as tertiary, a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu built with immense care and planning. But nowhere in the vast interior are there inscriptions confirming this purpose. No mummies have ever been found inside the Great Pyramid. The granite sarcophagus in the king's chamber is empty and always has been. So if not simply a tomb, what was it? Some researchers suggest the builders of the pyramid understood how sound travels through stone, how certain frequencies can be amplified and contained by a room shape, wall density, and material resonance. Could the chamber's dimensions, its proportions aligning with whole number ratios, have been chosen for acoustic reasons? Granite, after all, is a piezoelectric material. When subjected to pressure or vibration, it can emit small electrical charges. Was this a coincidence or a clue? And if the king's chamber resonates with such precision, could that have been intentional? It's worth noting that the sarcophagus too is curious. Hewn from a single block of granite and placed in the chamber before the ceiling was constructed, it rings when struck, not unlike a bell, and yet its purpose remains undefined. There are no markings, no symbols, no indication of ownership or ritual. It is both an object and an instrument, one whose sound may have once held meaning. Fringe theorists propose that the pyramid was not a tomb, but a type of machine, a structure built not for the dead, but for energy. One theory suggests it functioned as an ancient acoustic device, amplifying natural earth vibrations, perhaps in conjunction with underground water channels. In this model, low-frequency sound waves generated by geological movement or subterranean water would travel upward, entering the pyramid's internal chambers and triggering resonance. Is it possible the Great Pyramid was designed to focus sound in the same way a modern concert hall channels music? The similarities are compelling. Acoustic engineers use materials and space to shape sound. So did the ancient Egyptians do the same, whether for ritual, healing, or something else entirely. In support of this idea, some point to temples across Egypt where sound played a central role in the ceremony. At Karnak, the halls of Hypoxile were said to amplify the chants to reach thousands. In Abydos, the Osirian, sunken below ground and surrounded by still water, produces strange echoes and sonic reflections. Even in the Capium at Saqqara, where massive stone sarcophagi lie in tight underground tunnels, the resonance is striking. Tap the wall and you don't just hear it, you feel it. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians understood sound not just as a form of communication but as a force? Modern science has only recently begun to understand the ways in which sound can influence matter. Cymatics, for example, reveals how sound frequencies can shape sand, water here, or metal filings into intricate patterns. Could sacred architecture have been designed to do something similar with the human mind or the human body? And what of the human experience in these spaces? Many who visit the king's chamber report more than just an echo. They speak of a stillness, a gravity to the air, as though stepping into a place somehow outside of ordinary time, as if the pyramid is listening, as if it remembers. Is this merely the result of suggestion or something woven into the stone itself? No definitive answers have been reached. There are no inscriptions detailing an acoustic function of the pyramids, no ancient manuals on resonance or sonic energy, but the effects remain. Sound moves invisibly, but it leaves impressions in architecture, in atmosphere, and perhaps in memory. So we are left to wonder, were these resonant frequencies the byproduct of construction or were they the purpose? Did ancient engineers stumble upon them by chance, or were they building something far more sophisticated than we've dared to imagine? And if we learn to listen more carefully, not with microphones, but with intention, what might these chambers finally reveal? If the pyramids represent the geometry of power, and the Great Pyramid itself hums with silent frequencies of unknown purpose, then further south along the Nile, another marvel rises, not in pointed perfection, but in overwhelming complexity, a place where precision meets scale on a level that still leaves engineers, historians and mystics equally breathless. This is Karnak, the Temple of Temples located in the ancient city of Thebes, present-day Luxor. Karak is not a single building, but an immense complex, an open-air museum of stone and time that spans over 200 acres. For nearly 2,000 years, pharaohs added, expanded, and rebuilt its sanctuaries, pylons and obelisks. But even in its layered grandeur, some features defy historical convention. The hypo-style hall, perhaps Karnak's most iconic space, stretches out like a forest of stone. The 34 massive columns, some over 70 feet tall and weighing up to 70 tons each, rise like petrified trees, each carved in an incredible detail. Walking among them, you feel not just small but studied, watched by stone that feels impossibly old. How, we still wonder, was it all built? Conventional Egyptology attributes Karnak's construction to the combined effort of countless labourers over many dynasties, ramps, levers, ropes, and human willpower, the same answers given for the pyramid. But here the questions are different, because unlike the clean angular design of pyramid masonry, Karnak presents a chaos of forms. Interlocking structures and precisely aligned elements constructed from blocks so enormous, modern cranes would struggle to move them with ease. Some of the stone used here, especially the red and black granite transported from Aswan, is so hard that even with today's diamond-tipped tools, carving it remains labour-intensive. Yet at Karnak, these surfaces were cut, shaped and polished with a consistency that suggests a command of technology we've not yet replicated. And then there's the question of alignment. The Temple of Ammon at the heart of the Karnak complex is aligned with uncanny astronomical precision. Its axis points toward the mid-intersolstice sunrise, marking a moment when the sun's rays illuminate the inner sanctum. This would have required not only advanced knowledge of solar movement, but a means of maintaining absolute orientation over centuries of construction. So how did they do it? Some propose a refined understanding of stellar navigation and shadow tracking. Clever but simple tools amplified by generations of skywatching. Others suggest more sophisticated surveying instruments long lost to history. But then there are elements that strain even speculative explanations, like the cuts themselves. Throughout Karnak, on granite blocks and limestone alike, there are strange smooth channels, precise grooves that curve with machine-like regularity. Some appear to have been drilled, as if with rotary tools capable of applying enormous and consistent pressure. But no such tools have been found, no copper chisel, no flint blade explains these patterns. British engineer Christopher Dunn, who has studied Egyptian monuments for decades, argues that some of these tool marks exhibit characteristics more akin to modern machining. Could the ancient builders have possessed lost techniques? Perhaps ultrasonic cutting or advanced abrasives powered by unknown energy sources? It sounds extraordinary, and perhaps it is, but the stones are not theoretical. They are there waiting to be examined. Take the unfinished obelisk at Aswan, often cited in discussions of ancient construction. Though not technically at Karnak, its story echoes here. Carved directly into the bedrock, it remains partially detached, cracked before completion. What's most striking are the tool marks, long sweeping gouges suggesting a technique far beyond simple pounding stones. Whatever tool was used, it left behind smooth uniform impressions, almost as if slicing through the granite rather than fracturing it. Was something similar used at Karak? And what of the immense blocks high atop the towering pylons, some weighing dozens of tons? How were they lifted? Even if wooden ramps were used, the logistics of dragging such weight hundreds of feet into the air with precision are staggering. Speculative theories abound. Some posit the use of sound, echoing the pyramid's mysteries once again. Sonic levitation, or acoustic manipulation, is a theory long explored in fringe circles. Could the Egyptians have discovered frequencies that altered gravity or reduced mass, allowing massive stones to float if only temporarily? Others consider the possibility of unknown power sources, lost sciences encoded in sacred rituals long buried beneath layers of myth. It's easy to dismiss until you walk through Karnak and feel the echo of something you can't name. Perhaps it's not technology in the modern sense that we're looking for, but a different kind of knowledge altogether. The ancient Egyptians were master synthesists. Astronomy, religion, engineering and art were not separate disciplines. They were one. Every block placed at Karnak had a cosmic significance. Every hall channeled not just wind and sun, but intention. Maybe that too is a form of technology, a deep intuitive understanding of the natural world and how to align with it. Still, the physical mysteries remain. How do we explain tool marks that should not exist? Carvings too deep, too symmetrical for hand tools alone? How were such enormous elements lifted and set into place with little margin for error? And how over centuries did builders maintain an architectural coherence across shifting dynasties and technologies? No single theory answers every question. And so we return again and again to Karak, not just to admire its scale, but to study its ambience, to listen for what has not yet been spoken, or perhaps what was never meant to be explained in words. Because something remains in the stone, not just history, but presence, a presence that leads us to ask, what did the ancient builders know that we do not? And what might still be hidden there in the joints between the stones, in the echoes of chisel and chant, waiting quietly for the right questions to be asked? As we leave the towering columns and hidden energy of Karnak behind, we move into an entirely different realm. A realm where the stone walls themselves seem to whisper strange, unearthly secrets across Egypt in the shadow of its most famous monuments, like temples and tombs, where ancient carvings tell a tale of machines. Machines that should not exist in the ancient world. These machines are not tools in the traditional sense. They are something far more intricate, enigmatic, and at times surreal. Take, for example, the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. Here, carved into the very walls of this sacred site, are strange depictions that have long perplexed visitors and scholars alike. Among the many detailed hieroglyphs and divine symbols, you'll find images of what appear to be ancient machines. These carvings depict what look like light bulbs intertwined with intricate cables, some even resembling modern-day electrical circuits. These strange depictions have been the subject of much debate. Some argue that these images represent symbolic motifs, perhaps symbolic of the divine power of Hathor, goddess of love and joy, but others suggest that they might be something much more significant. The most famous of these carvings is the so-called Dender light, which features a large lotus-shaped bowl atop a stem from which emerges a beam of light. The images appear to be eerily similar to the designs of electrical lighting, or even in some interpretations to modern-day incandescent bulbs. This connection has led some to wonder, could the ancient Egyptians have had access to advanced technologies, ones that we are only just beginning to understand? Of course, mainstream scholars dismiss such claims, arguing that these carvings are simply symbolic representations of the goddess Hathor's power. But the fact remains, these images continue to baffle those who study them. Could they too be evidence of lost technologies? Perhaps an ancient understanding of electricity, or even a form of lighting unknown to modern science? Or might they represent something far more esoteric, a spiritual or metaphysical technology rather than a physical one? As if this weren't enough to spark curiosity, similar motifs appear in other locations throughout Egypt, most notably into the Temple of Abydos, where the famous helicopter hieroglyphs were discovered. These curious carvings depict objects that appear to resemble modern-day flying machines, helicopters, submarines, and even airplanes etched into the ancient stone. These depictions are so strikingly modern in their appearance that many have questioned whether they could represent visions of the future, perhaps the result of time travel, or even more compellingly, the possibility that the ancient Egyptians somehow had access to advanced machinery far beyond their time. This notion has sparked the imagination of fringe theorists who suggest that these machines may represent not just symbolic depictions but actual objects or devices encountered by the ancient Egyptians. Perhaps artifacts left by a lost civilization, or advanced beings whose influence remains etched in stone for us to decipher. But could such extraordinary depictions really be evidence of ancient technology? The mainstream explanation posits that these images are simply a result of later reinterpretations where earlier hieroglyphs and carvings were read into by later cultures, or that the images are metaphorical, representing divine power or symbolic themes, rather than real-world technology. But even this explanation raises more questions than answers. If these carvings are metaphorical, then why do they depict machines with such precision, down to the minute details of rotor blades or propellers? Why do they resemble not just fantastical objects, but real machines? Machines that seem in some cases to depict technology that would not appear in the world until millennia later. Could it be that these images were not intended as metaphor, but as an actual record of some unknown technology? One that was lost to time, perhaps destroyed by a cataclysmic event or simply forgotten by the ancient world? The idea of ancient machines challenges our fundamental understanding of history. How could an advanced civilization capable of constructing such complex structures and engineering feats possess the technologies that we have yet to fully comprehend? And why, in the face of such advanced knowledge, do we have so little evidence of the actual use of these technologies? Were these machines part of a forgotten golden age, one that vanished without leaving a trace? Perhaps then the answer lies not in the machines themselves, but in what they represent. Could these carvings be a reflection of ancient knowledge? One that spanned not just the physical world, but the spiritual and metaphysical realms as well? What if these machines were not meant to be understood as tools in the traditional sense, but as representations of deeper truths about the nature of energy, light, and the very fabric of existence? Looking at the temple walls in this light, we begin to see that the machines are not merely objects. They are symbols of something greater, something we have yet to fully comprehend. Perhaps these ancient images hold the key to unlocking an entirely new understanding of what the ancient Egyptians knew, an understanding that could stretch across time and space, defying the boundaries of conventional history and modern science. This, of course, raises yet another question. If these ancient machines were indeed real, what happened to them? Were they destroyed, buried, or simply forgotten? If the Egyptians had access to such technology, why did they not continue to develop it? Did the fall of ancient Egypt result in the loss of this knowledge? Or did something more catastrophic occur? Something so profound that it erased all trace of these ancient machines from our collective memory? The mystery deepens as we explore the wider implications of these findings. Was this technology part of a broader ancient system, a network of knowledge and innovation that connected distant civilizations, one that was buried beneath the sands of time? Or were these machines part of a spiritual or cosmic understanding, one that transcended mere physicality and tapped into the forces of the universe itself? The more we examine these carved images, the more questions arise. But as with so many other mysteries of ancient Egypt, the answers remain elusive, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes, the right questions to uncover the truth. What we are left with then is not certainty but wonder. Wonder at the possibility that ancient Egypt may have been far more advanced than we can imagine. Wonder at the possibility that these machines carved into temple walls were not simply the product of imagination, but of a forgotten reality, a reality that continues to echo across millennia. The truth, as always, may lie just beyond our reach, waiting like the ancient machines themselves to be rediscovered. As we continue our journey through the rich tapestry of ancient Egypt, we find ourselves stepping into a realm that stretches beyond earthly history, a place where myth, religion, and perhaps even the stars themselves intertwine. Here we encounter an intriguing theory that connects Egypt's sacred lord to distant gods, gods who might not have been gods at all, but beings from a faraway place. The Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, according to Sumerian texts, are a group of gods who, according to ancient myth, descended from the heavens to impart knowledge to early civilizations. Their story is famously told in the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, where they are said to have arrived on Earth to mine gold and establish dominion over humanity. These beings, sometimes depicted as towering figures or gods with extraordinary powers, have captured the imagination of countless researchers and theorists. The question that arises then is whether there might be a connection between these ancient deities and Egypt's own pantheon. At first glance, the Sumerian and Egyptian mythologies appear distinct. The gods of Egypt are famously numerous, each with unique attributes and domains, from the sun god Ra to the god of wisdom, Thi. Yet as we delve deeper into their ancient texts, some striking parallels begin to emerge. Could it be that the Egyptian gods and the Anunnaki represent the same group of celestial visitors? Could these mythologies, separated by time and geography, be fragments of a shared ancient memory? Consider the god Osiris, the lord of the afterlife, who is said to have brought knowledge of agriculture, writing and law to the Egyptian people. His narrative shares similarities with that of the Anunnaki. Both Osiris and the Anunnaki are connected to the concept of divine intervention in the development of human civilization, bringing advanced knowledge to an early primitive humanity. Moreover, Osiris himself is often depicted as a benevolent ruler who ascended to the heavens where he became a star, an image not unlike the descriptions of the Anunnaki and Sumerian texts. And what if Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, often depicted with the head of an ibis? Thoth is said to have written the divine knowledge of the cosmos, creating the first system of writing hieroglyphs. In many ways, his story resembles that of the Anunnaki's purported role as bringers of knowledge to mankind. Could the Anunnaki have been the source of the wisdom that they shared with humanity? Was this merely a symbolic figure representing a broader interstellar intelligence? The connection between the Anunnaki and the Egyptians becomes even more intriguing when we consider the notion of star knowledge. The Anunnaki were often said to have come from the stars, specifically from the distant planet Nibiru. Egyptian mythology too is replete with references to the stars and cosmic realms. The pyramids, for instance, are aligned with remarkable precision to the stars in the constellation of Orion, which was sacred to the Egyptians and associated with Osiris. It is well known that the ancient Egyptians placed great importance on the heavens, with many of their temples and structures built in alignment with stellar bodies. This shared reverence for the stars raises a tantalizing question. Could the knowledge of the stars that the Egyptians so carefully preserved have come from the same source as that of the Anunnaki? Beyond these surface-level similarities, there are even deeper, more mysterious connections. Ancient texts from both Sumer and Egypt often describe advanced technologies, things like flying ships, powerful weapons, and mystical knowledge that transcend the technological capabilities of their respective eras. In the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki are said to have possessed flying craft known as Kug, which some interpret as descriptions of advanced aircraft. Similarly, the Egyptians have long been associated with mysterious technologies, whether in the form of the hidden power of the Great Pyramid or the strange mechanisms carved into the walls of their temples. Could these seemingly disconnected technologies be the result of the same influence? Ancient beings far beyond human understanding who shared their knowledge with both Sumerians and Egyptians alike. This possibility becomes even more intriguing when considering the art and iconography that appear in both cultures. The famous Dendera light carvings, which we've seen before, bear an uncanny resemblance to modern electrical devices, hinting at knowledge far ahead of its time. But if we widen our gaze, other ancient artworks show celestial beings, sometimes depicted with helmets or other protective gear that bear a striking resemblance to depictions of astronauts. This shared motif found in both Sumerian and Egyptian imagery suggests a commonality in how these two cultures viewed the heavens, their gods, and their interaction with advanced beings from the stars. However, despite these striking similarities, mainstream scholars have been slow to embrace these theories. The prevailing belief is that Egyptian mythology is purely indigenous to Egypt, that its gods emerged from the culture's own internal development. Yet, as we see in the comparison of Osiris and the Anunnaki, as well as the celestial alignments that both civilizations shared, there is a possibility, albeit one that remains highly speculative, that the stories of the gods from Egypt and Sumer are not entirely separate. One of the most fascinating aspects of this theory is the idea of knowledge transfer between cultures, one that goes beyond simple trade and into the realm of shared, perhaps even interplanetary wisdom. Could it be that the Anunnaki, or beings resembling them, visited not just Mesopotamia but Egypt as well? And if they did, what did they leave behind? Was it simply their knowledge of the stars and agriculture? Or did they impart something far more transformative? In all of this, one question remains. If the Anunnaki were truly the progenitors of the wisdom and knowledge found in both Sumer and Egypt, then what happened to them? Did they leave Earth entirely, returning to their distant planet, as some theories suggest? Or did they vanish, leaving behind only fragmented myths and mysterious teachings buried beneath layers of time? As we explore the possibility of an Anunnaki connection in Egyptian lore, we're left with more questions than answers. The evidence remains circumstantial at best, with no definitive proof that links these ancient gods to extraterrestrial visitors. And yet, as we look at the striking similarities between the two cultures, we can't help but wonder, could the connection between Egypt and the Anunnaki be more than just myth? The truth, as always, remains elusive, hidden within the folds of time, waiting for the right questions to uncover it. And as we continue to search, one thing is certain. The mystery of Egypt's ancient gods and their connection to the stars is far from resolved. As we journey deeper into the enigmatic world of ancient Egypt, we move from the mysteries of celestial beings and divine knowledge to something more grounded yet equally unfathomable. A chamber hidden within the heart of one of Egypt's most iconic pyramids. This is not just any room, it is a chamber that has baffled architects, acousticians and archaeologists alike for centuries. Known for its strange, inexplicable acoustic properties, the chamber we are about to explore is said to echo like no other place on Earth. The Great Pyramid of Giza, with its towering stone structure and precise alignment with the stars, has long been a source of wonder. But within its walls lies a secret, a mysterious echoing sound that defies modern understanding. The King's Chamber, situated in the very core of the pyramid, holds a profound acoustic phenomenon, sound waves that seem to reverberate in ways that cannot be explained by the simple geometry of the space. When you speak or make a sound in the King's Chamber, the sound doesn't behave as it should. It lingers in the air in an unusual, almost unnatural way. For centuries, visitors have noted that a single word or note sung within the chamber will continue to resonate long after the sound is made. It's not the kind of echo you might expect in a standard room, where sound bounces back predictably off surfaces. Instead, the acoustics of the King's Chamber create a disorienting effect, as if the space itself were alive, responding to the sounds it receives. This peculiar behaviour of sound has led some to question if the chamber was designed with acoustics in mind, or if something deeper, more profound was intended. Mainstream scientists often point to the materials of the pyramid itself as the explanation. Stone and granite that vibrate in ways we do not fully understand. The King's Chamber is built from massive blocks of red granite material that can carry vibrations with surprising resonance. However, even this logical explanation leaves much to be desired. After all, the precision with which the chamber was built seems almost too perfect for mere acoustics. The structure of the pyramid itself, along with the alignment of the chamber, raises more questions than it answers. Why was this space so meticulously crafted? And why, after thousands of years, does it still produce such an inexplicable effect? Could the acoustics be the result of some ancient form of engineering designed to harness sound waves in ways that we have yet to comprehend? If so, what was their purpose? The possibilities are as vast as they are intriguing. Some speculate that the chamber may have been used in rituals where sound was intended to induce certain effects on the mind or body, perhaps as to create a spiritual experience or even to communicate with the divine. Ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, were known to have deep associations with sound and vibration, often using them in religious ceremonies to align with the cosmos or to transcend physical reality. Could this chamber have been part of a larger network of pyramids and temples designed to amplify certain frequencies connecting the physical and spiritual worlds? Others suggest that the acoustics of the King's Chamber might be the result of a far more advanced understanding of sound, a knowledge that surpasses even modern technology. What if the pyramid was not just a tomb or a monument, but a device? An instrument capable of manipulating sound and, by extension, energy itself? There are, after all, numerous accounts of ancient structures around the world that demonstrate unusual acoustic properties. From the great stone circles of the British Isles to the temples of Mesoamerica, sound seems to have played a significant role in the creation and design of sacred spaces. Could the Great Pyramid have been part of this global tradition, one that harnessed sound for purposes far beyond simple communication? And then there are those who entertain even more speculative theories, ones that reach into the realm of the extraordinary. Some researchers suggest that the acoustics in the King's Chamber could be the result of a lost technology, one that allowed the Egyptians to manipulate sound waves in ways that modern science can barely grasp. Could the Egyptians have known how to harness the power of sound to levitate objects or to influence the material world in ways we don't understand? This idea draws parallels with some of the more fringe theories about the pyramids, where it's suggested that the construction of the pyramids themselves may have been aided by advanced sound-based technologies. For example, sound frequency manipulation, a theory proposed by some researchers, posits that certain frequencies have the ability to affect physical objects. Imagine a sound so powerful that it could lift massive stones into the air or cause the very building materials to resonate with such force that they could be easily maneuvered. While this concept might sound like science fiction, the phenomenon of sound-based levitation has been explored in modern science, suggesting that there might be some truth to these ancient speculations. Could it be that the Egyptians had mastered these techniques long before we had the tools to even think about them? Then there are the more mystical explanations. Some believe that the chamber's acoustics were not simply a byproduct of engineering, but were intentionally crafted to create a portal, one that could connect the earthly realm to the divine, the physical world to the spiritual. The strange lingering echoes might have been designed to simulate a state of heightened consciousness, a trance-like effect that allowed priests, pharaohs, or even the deceased to communicate with the gods or access hidden knowledge. In some ways, This concept mirrors the use of sound in shamanic practices, where specific frequencies are used to induce altered states of consciousness. Could the Egyptians have been using the acoustics of the chamber to tap into other dimensions of existence? The mystery only deepens when we consider the possibility that these strange acoustic properties were not a happy accident, but a deliberate feature of the pyramid's design. Was the chamber built as a conduit for spiritual transformation, or was it a tool for ancient rites, allowing the priests of Egypt to communicate with higher powers? Could the echoes in the king's chamber be a reflection of the frequency at which the human mind could tune itself to a higher level of awareness? As we consider these theories, we are left with more questions than answers. The king's chamber with its inexplicable echoes offers a tantalizing glimpse into the ancient Egyptians' understanding of sound and vibration. Was it a product of advanced engineering, a device meant to harness hidden forces of the universe? Or perhaps something even more profound, a doorway to the divine? The mysteries of the king's chamber echo through time, but they have yet to be fully understood. As we continue to explore the secrets of this ancient chamber, we are reminded that what lies beneath the surface may be far greater and far more mysterious than we can even imagine. And as the echoes linger in the air, they invite us to listen more closely, to dig deeper, and to wonder what truths might still lie hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As we continue our journey through the mysterious wonders of ancient Egypt, we find ourselves on the precipice of something both deeply mathematical and profoundly symbolic. The sacred geometry embedded in the very fabric of Egypt's most iconic monuments. If the acoustics of the king's chamber revealed a mastery of sound that still puzzles modern scientists, then the geometry of Egypt's temples, pyramids, and monuments presents a mystery that seems to defy all conventional explanation. Let's begin with the Great Pyramid of Giza, the epitome of architectural precision and wonder. This ancient marvel has long been the subject of intense study, particularly because of its extraordinary alignment and proportions. The pyramid's base is almost perfectly square, with the four sides aligning nearly precisely with the cardinal directions of north, on south, east, and west. But it's the internal measurements, the angles, and the ratios that continue to baffle even the most experienced engineers and mathematicians. For instance, the angle of the Great Pyramid sides is set at about 51 degrees and 51 minutes, an angle that has a striking resemblance to the exact angle of the Earth's axis. This perfect alignment, an achievement that modern construction methods struggle to replicate, raises the question, how could an ancient civilization lacking the advanced tools and technology of our own time have achieved such precision? But it doesn't end with the pyramid's angles. The ratio of the pyramid's height to the perimeter of its base is nearly identical to the mathematical constant pi, which, as we know, defines the relationship between a circle's circumference and its diameter. This remarkable discovery has led many researchers to wonder, did the ancient Egyptians have an understanding of mathematics and geometry that far exceeded what we would expect from their era? How could they have arrived at such sophisticated knowledge of numbers, especially when there is no evidence of the tools or instruments we use today to study such concepts? This brings us to the concept of sacred geometry itself, an ancient belief that geometry, and particularly certain ratios and proportions, is intimately connected to the divine. The Egyptians, like many other ancient cultures, viewed mathematics not just as a tool for measurement, but as a way to understand the very structure of the universe. They believed that numbers and shapes carried divine significance, and that by using these forms they could align themselves with cosmic forces. Perhaps no symbol embodies this concept more than the flower of life, a geometric pattern composed of multiple overlapping circles. Though it is often associated with later cultures such as the Greeks, this pattern can also be found in Egyptian temples and tombs, suggesting that the Egyptians were well aware of its significance. The flower of life represents the blueprint of creation, and in its intricate symmetry, one finds a microcosm of the universe itself, an unbroken pattern that links the divine with the earthly. What is most perplexing about these geometric patterns is not just their ubiquity across Egypt's monuments, but the sheer complexity of their construction. The Egyptians, using only basic tools such as ropes, wooden rods, and simple measuring instruments, were able to carve these intricate designs into stone, shaping sacred geometry into the very walls of their temples. How could such intricate designs be achieved with so little in the way of technology? And why did they take such care in embedding these symbols into the very architecture of their sacred sites? One possible explanation lies in the deep symbolic meaning behind these shapes. The ancient Egyptians believed that the universe was governed by a divine order, and that sacred geometry was the key to understanding that order. The precision with which they constructed their monuments could have been a reflection of their desire to align themselves with the forces of nature, the gods, and the cosmos itself. But there is another theory that takes us even further into the realm of the extraordinary. Some suggest that the Egyptians may have had access to advanced knowledge or lost technologies that enabled them to manipulate geometry in ways we can't fully comprehend. The alignment of the pyramids, the angles, the ratios, could these have been the result of a forgotten science? A technology of the mind or even the stars passed down by ancient civilizations or extraterrestrial visitors? For example, some researchers point to the idea that the ancient Egyptians had access to a form of knowledge that allowed them to understand the energy and vibrational properties of certain shapes and proportions. Could it be that the geometry embedded within the structures of Egypt was designed to harness or amplify specific energies? Could the angles of the Great Pyramid or the precise placement of certain structures within temples be part of an advanced system of energy manipulation? A system whose purpose we are only beginning to grasp. This theory is further supported by the fact that many ancient cultures, not just the Egyptians, seem to have had a remarkable understanding of geometry, astronomy, and energy systems. Systems that modern science has only begun to explore. In fact, certain geometric shapes, such as the pyramid shape itself, are thought by some to have unique energetic properties. The pyramids, with their sharp, precise angles, may have been designed to concentrate or direct energy in a specific way, perhaps even harnessing the natural forces of the Earth or the cosmos. One of the most intriguing aspects of this mystery is the fact that the geometry in Egyptian architecture is not limited to the pyramids alone. It extends to the design of temples, the layouts of cities, and even the placement of sacred objects. The Temple of Karnak, for instance, is a sprawling complex that incorporates multiple layers of sacred geometry. From its carefully measured stone pillars to its specific alignments with celestial bodies, Karnak is a testament to the Egyptians' dedication to the principles of sacred geometry. And yet, despite the obvious care with which it was constructed, we still don't fully understand the purpose of these alignments. Some researchers believe that the Egyptians were using geometry to map out the forces of the cosmos, or even to tap into hidden dimensions of reality. Could these monuments have been built not just as physical structures, but as metaphysical tools? Were the sacred designs encoded with hidden knowledge that, if understood correctly, could unlock secrets about the universe itself? As we consider these possibilities, we are reminded that the mysteries of ancient Egypt are not just about what we see on the surface, but about what lies beneath. Hidden meanings, lost technologies, and insights into the very structure of the cosmos. The sacred geometry that defines Egypt's architecture may hold the key to understanding a deeper truth, one that has been obscured by the passage of time, yet still echoes through the stones and monuments of this ancient civilization. But as with so many other aspects of ancient Egypt, the questions persist. How did they achieve such precision? What knowledge did they possess that we have yet to uncover? And most importantly, what truths lie hidden within the sacred geometry of Egypt's monuments, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? As we continue to explore, we are left with one enduring thought. The deeper we dig into these mysteries, the more we realize how much we still have to learn. As we've seen, the Egyptians were no strangers to the stars. Their monuments, temples, and pyramids were meticulously aligned with celestial bodies, suggesting a profound understanding of the heavens. But what if this knowledge was not just symbolic or architectural? What if the Egyptians had access to an even deeper, more practical understanding of the stars? One that could guide them across the vast, mysterious expanse of the cosmos. In one of the most intriguing discoveries to come from Egypt's rich archaeological history, an ancient map was uncovered. A map of the stars hidden deep within the tomb of a pharaoh. This discovery, far from being an ordinary relic, suggested that the ancient Egyptians may have had a sophisticated system for mapping the night sky, one that wasn't merely used for religious or navigational purposes, but perhaps something much grander. The map was found in the tomb of an Egyptian noble located in the Valley of the Kings. This tomb, like many others, was filled with artifacts intended to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. But among these artifacts lay a small, almost unassuming relief carved into the stone of the tomb's walls. At first glance, it appeared to be an ordinary depiction of celestial symbols, stars, constellations, and gods. But upon closer inspection, a more unsettling question began to arise. Was this map truly just a representation of the night sky? Or did it contain something more? something hidden within its design. Experts who examined the relief noted several peculiarities. The map did not align with any known constellation system of the time, nor did it follow the common practices of Egyptian star charts that were thought to represent merely symbolic or religious associations. The positions of the stars seemed to suggest a much more complex pattern, one that could not be explained by the common astronomical knowledge of the era. The more researchers analysed the map, the more it became clear that it might not have been simply a religious tool or symbolic artifact. Some speculated that this star map could have been a blueprint for some kind of celestial navigation system, one that could have been used to chart the heavens in ways we do not fully understand today. Was it possible that ancient Egyptians, through their monumental constructions and vast array of astronomical knowledge, possessed a secret method for navigating the stars in ways that have been lost to history? But what truly sets this discovery apart from the many other star maps discovered in Egyptian tombs is the seeming precision with which the stars are mapped. The map, carved with extraordinary detail, depicts celestial bodies that appear to align with constellations and stars that were only rediscovered by modern astronomers in the 20th century. This raises an unsettling question. How could the Egyptians have known about these stars, many of which are located far beyond the naked eye's reach, long before they were officially identified by modern telescopes? This is where the mystery deepens further. Could the ancient Egyptians have had access to a form of knowledge? Perhaps through lost technologies or even ancient contact with extraterrestrial civilizations that enabled them to map the stars with a precision that seems far beyond the capabilities of their time. It is a theory that has gained traction among some fringe researchers who argue that the Egyptians' alignment with the cosmos was not simply a reflection of their religious beliefs, but rather a form of practical, possibly even navigational knowledge that we have yet to fully comprehend. The idea that the Egyptians may have had contact with beings from other worlds or had access to advanced knowledge that has since been lost to time is not new. Throughout history, countless ancient cultures have passed down myths and legends about gods descending from the heavens, imparting wisdom about the stars, the heavens, and the mysteries of the universe. Could these stories have been based on something more tangible? Could the gods the Egyptians spoke of have been visitors from distant stars, beings capable of guiding the Egyptians in their understanding of the cosmos? And if so, what could their true purpose have been? Some have suggested that the star map found in the tomb is not just a representation of constellations, but could serve as a guide to specific star systems. The idea that the Egyptians may have been using this map as a key to interstellar travel is of course highly speculative, but what if, as some have proposed, the Egyptians had access to a technology or knowledge that allowed them to navigate the heavens in ways that have been forgotten by history? What's fascinating is the fact that the map doesn't just focus on the stars themselves, but also incorporates the movements of celestial bodies, cometary paths, eclipses, and planetary alignments. These were all crucial events in the Egyptian religious calendar, as they were often seen as omens or signals from the gods. The fact that these events were charted with such meticulous care suggests that the Egyptians were not simply observing the heavens, but interacting with them in some profound way. Was this map a celestial guide created to help the pharaohs and priests or high-ranking officials in their ritual practices? Or was it perhaps an ancient roadmap of sorts pointing to the stars and guiding the Egyptians on an entirely different journey? The concept of the pharaoh as a divine being who could communicate with the gods is deeply rooted in Egyptian culture. What if the stars were not just distant points of light to them, but actual destinations, places where the gods resided, or perhaps even places that the pharaohs themselves could travel to? The idea that the Egyptians might have believed they could journey to the stars is not as far-fetched as it might seem. In fact, some researchers have pointed to ancient Egyptian texts that suggest a belief in the afterlife being connected to the stars, particularly the star Sirius, which was of immense importance in Egyptian cosmology. Could this map have been a guide to this celestial afterlife? What remains compelling about this discovery is not just its celestial significance, but the very fact that it's been left largely unexplored. The map, a fragment of a much larger puzzle, still holds many secrets, and despite the centuries that have passed, we remain on the precipice of understanding its full meaning. Did the Egyptians possess knowledge of the stars that has been lost to history? Or were they merely tapping into a tradition of celestial observation that stretches far beyond their time? As we look back upon this map and the deep mysteries it holds, we are reminded that there are still more questions than answers. The stars have always guided humanity through the ages, across deserts and even to distant lands. But could the Egyptians have used the stars to guide them in ways we have not yet imagined? And more intriguingly, could this map hold the key to understanding a connection between the ancient Egyptians and the cosmos? A connection that has until now remained hidden in the shadows of time. The mysteries of the star map continue to beckon us, inviting us to listen closely, to question more deeply, and to wonder what truths are still waiting to be uncovered in the ancient tombs of Egypt. As we delve deeper into the profound mysteries surrounding the ancient Egyptians, one of the most enigmatic phenomena to have emerged in recent years involves the very structures that have long symbolized their advanced knowledge, the pyramids. Particularly one pyramid in the Giza complex has sparked theories and curiosity among the researchers, scientists and mystics alike. This pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, has long been a source of wonder. But what if this awe-inspiring monument held a secret far beyond its architecture, something that could change the way we understand ancient Egypt and its remarkable knowledge of energy? The Great Pyramid, often referred to as the Pyramid of Khufu, has stood for over 4,000 years, surviving the tests of time, weather and human interference. While its precise purpose has been a subject of debate for centuries, recent discoveries have begun to suggest something entirely unexpected. The pyramid may be emitting electromagnetic energy. In 1989, a group of researchers led by French scientist Jean-Pierre Houdin was investigating the Great Pyramid when they noticed something curious. There appeared to be a consistent presence of electromagnetic fields around and within the pyramid. These anomalies weren't simply the result of modern interference or the presence of metal within the pyramid's structure. They were more profound and appeared to align with the pyramid's internal architecture in ways that defied easy explanation. Devices placed near the pyramid registered unusual energy patterns, unlike anything seen in other large stone structures. Could this be the result of the materials used in the construction of the pyramid, which included millions of tons of limestone and granite? While stone is not known to emit energy in the way metals or crystals can, the sheer mass and arrangement of the blocks inside the Great Pyramid might be playing a role in something far more complex, something science has yet to fully understand. The connection between the Great Pyramid and electromagnetic fields didn't end with Houdin's research. Over the years, more experiments were conducted, and many similar phenomena were observed. Some researchers, such as the late Christopher Dunn, has proposed that the Great Pyramid could act as a kind of resonator capable of generating electromagnetic energy due to the precise alignment and interlocking of the stones. Dunn's hypothesis suggests that the interior of the pyramid might have been designed as an energy converter, one that could harness natural forces from the Earth and perhaps the cosmos itself. But what exactly was this energy used for? And why did the ancient Egyptians seem to have such an intricate understanding of it? While there are many who remain skeptical of these theories, there's no denying that the Great Pyramid is unlike any other structure ever built. The precision with which it was constructed, the alignment with the cardinal directions, and the way it interacts with the environment have long suggested that it holds secrets beyond what was traditionally understood. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians weren't just constructing a tomb, as is widely believed, but were instead building a device, a machine that harnessed energies from the natural world? One of the more startling aspects of these electromagnetic readings is the possibility that the pyramid could act as a conduit for energy. What if the pyramid was not merely a physical structure, but also a complex energy system, designed to interact with the Earth's magnetic field or even with celestial energy sources? These ideas seem speculative, but they open the door to new avenues of thought about the role the Great Pyramid might have played in ancient Egyptian society. Adding to the intrigue, there are those who suggest that the electromagnetic properties of the pyramid could have been used in healing or spiritual rituals. The ancient Egyptians were known for their advanced understanding of medicine, and the idea that the pyramid could have served as a tool for healing or transformation is one that intrigues many researchers. Could the electromagnetic energy have been harnessed for spiritual or psychological purposes, perhaps to induce altered states of consciousness, as some theories suggest? If so, what kind of impact might this have had on the pharaohs and priests who spent time inside its walls? Of course, there are more mystical theories to consider as well. Some proponents of alternative history suggest that the energy emanating from the pyramid could be a result of ancient knowledge or technologies that have since been lost. Could the Egyptians have known something we do not? Could they have had access to forms of energy that remain undiscovered by modern science? The suggestion that the pyramid was an ancient power source potentially linked to cosmic energy brings us to questions of lost technologies that have been forgotten or suppressed by history. But perhaps the most fascinating question of all is this: if the Great Pyramid was indeed designed to emit electromagnetic energy, what was its purpose? Was it simply an architectural marvel that the Egyptians stumbled upon? Or was it a carefully planned device with a specific profound function? Some speculate that the pyramid might have served a role far beyond just a tomb for the pharaoh, but instead as an energy generator, a celestial anchor, or a power station for the ancients. Could it have been a way for the pharaohs to connect with the gods? Perhaps even to channel divine energy or to communicate with forces beyond our understanding? The idea that a massive stone structure could act as a generator of energy challenges our conventional ideas of engineering and physics. Modern scientists continue to investigate these strange phenomena, but no definitive explanation has emerged. Some believe the key to understanding this mystery lies in studying the alignment of the pyramid, the proportions of the internal chambers, and the materials used in construction. Others point to the idea that the ancient Egyptians might have understood something about energy, whether from the earth, the sun, or the stars, that modern science has only recently begun to explore. What is clear is that the Great Pyramid, with its incredible geometry and intricate design, continues to hold secrets that are far from being fully understood. Its ability to generate electromagnetic energy, if confirmed, would suggest that the ancient Egyptians had a level of knowledge far ahead of their time. Whether they were harnessing energy from natural forces, or whether they were utilising a technology lost to time, the fact remains that the pyramid is far more than just an architectural wonder. It is a symbol of something much larger, a mystery that, like the stars themselves, continues to beckon us to search for answers. As researchers continue to study the electromagnetic properties of the Great Pyramid, one question remains: could this ancient structure be part of a larger, still hidden system of knowledge and technology, one that has been waiting to be rediscovered? Or perhaps, as some suggest, we are only beginning to understand the true potential of this ancient marvel and what secrets it may still have to reveal. As we continue to explore the enigma of ancient Egypt, one symbol stands out, appearing time and again across tombs, temples, and monuments: the Eye of Horus. This powerful emblem, simple yet profoundly significant, has been a subject of fascination for centuries. Known to represent protection, healing, and royal power, the Eye of Horus is deeply embedded in Egyptian culture. But could there be more to this ancient symbol than we've yet understood? Could the Eye of Horus hide within it a deeper, more cryptic meaning, one that has eluded historians, archaeologists, and scholars alike? The Eye of Horus is most commonly depicted as a stylized eye with markings that resemble a falcon's head, tracing the outline of a human eye. Horus the sky god was often associated with kingship and divine rule, and the symbol itself is thought to provide protection from evil forces as well as to signify spiritual clarity and vision. It is frequently seen in amulets, inscriptions, and artwork, often accompanied by prayers or spells to ward off misfortune or harm. To the ancient Egyptians, it was not merely a representation of Horus's power, but a powerful icon that could influence the physical and spiritual world. But this symbol, revered for thousands of years, contains a complexity that has puzzled researchers for just as long. Its exact meaning is still debated. On the surface, its interpretation seems clear: protection, healing, restoration. Yet the recurring appearance of the symbol across a wide range of contexts invites us to dig deeper. Was the Eye of Horus merely an artistic expression of power, or could it be a vessel for hidden knowledge? Encoded messages meant to transcend time. To understand the mystery, we must first examine the symbolism embedded within the Eye of Horus itself. The markings around the eye are not arbitrary. They are intricate and precise, almost as if they were designed with a hidden code in mind. The eye is often divided into 6 parts, each corresponding to a fraction of a whole. These divisions are not just aesthetic, they have been identified as representations of the 6 senses: sight, touch, taste, smell, hearing, and the spiritual sense or intuition. This intriguing correlation suggests that the symbol might hold more than a mere physical representation of Horus's vision. Could it also be a depiction of human perception, both mundane and divine? Could the Eye of Horus be speaking to the very nature of how the Egyptians understood the world through the lens of both physical and spiritual awareness? Moreover, the Eye of Horus has mathematical significance. In fact, the ancient Egyptians seem to have embedded this symbol with a kind of mathematical precision. The fractions it contain, a half of 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, are not only symbolic of the sensory divisions, but also reflect a system of measurement used in Egyptian mathematics. These divisions are remarkably similar to those used in the calculation of time, as well as the measurement of materials such as grain. The resemblance to modern mathematical fractions leads some to speculate that the Egyptians were using the Eye of Horus as a cryptic representation of a far more complex system, perhaps one that combined spiritual and physical realms in ways that we have yet to fully grasp. The eye's connection to numbers and fractions might suggest that it was a tool for codifying something much larger, something beyond protection and divine oversight. Was the Eye of Horus in fact a map, one that transcended the earthly realm and pointed toward hidden higher knowledge? Some suggest that it was a guide to an advanced system of knowledge, one that integrated cosmic principles, sacred geometry, and even perhaps advanced scientific concepts. Could this symbol seen across temples and monuments be pointing to an ancient understanding of the universe that was far more sophisticated than what we've been able to reconstruct? While this interpretation remains speculative, the historical context offers an intriguing backdrop. The ancient Egyptians were not merely concerned with physical life, but with ensuring a harmonious balance between the physical and spiritual realms. The Eye of Horus was not just a protective charm, but a powerful symbol that ensured the smooth transition from one world to the next, the living world to the afterlife. This duality of protection and transcendence is what gives the symbol its potency, and yet it is the deeper layers, the ones that involve time, energy, and perhaps even hidden knowledge that warrant further exploration. If we consider the possibility that the Eye of Horus contains a hidden knowledge or code, what might that knowledge entail? Some theorists suggest that the eye could encode advanced principles of energy or cosmic order. Could it be that the Egyptians, through their seemingly simple yet profound symbols, were capturing aspects of universal laws that we are just beginning to uncover? Some fringe theories even propose that the Eye of Horus, with its intricate geometrical pattern and its connection to sensory perception, might represent an ancient system for understanding quantum phenomena, concepts that modern science is still grappling with today. There is also the persistent idea that the Eye of Horus is more than just a symbol of vision. It might be a tool of initiation, a key to unlocking deeper levels of perception. Ancient Egyptian priests were thought to possess an extraordinary level of insight, able to communicate with the gods, read the heavens, and understand the mysteries of the cosmos. Could the Eye of Horus have served as a form of initiation into this higher knowledge, a visual representation of the spiritual enlightenment necessary to access the divine realms? As with many aspects of ancient Egyptian symbolism, the real mystery of the Eye of Horus lies in its ambiguity. Its exact meaning has been lost at times, obscured by centuries of myth, ritual, and religious interpretation. But the more one looks at it, its proportions, its connections to mathematics and geometry, its role in Egyptian religious life, the more it seems that the symbol was meant to convey something much more complex. The Egyptians were masterful at coding knowledge in ways that transcended the physical form, and the Eye of Horus may be no exception. The mystery surrounding the Eye of Horus invites us to consider a broader question. What if symbols like this were not just artistic expressions or religious icons, but vehicles of hidden knowledge? Knowledge that, when deciphered, could reveal a greater understanding of the universe. Could it be that the ancient Egyptians were not just communicating with the gods, but using these symbols to preserve and transmit higher knowledge that would one day be rediscovered? We may never fully understand the depths of the mysteries encoded in the Eye of Horus, but it remains one of the most powerful symbols from ancient Egypt. A symbol that continues to captivate us, urging us to look deeper, to question more, and to consider that the secrets it contains may still be waiting to be uncovered. As we venture further into the depths of ancient Egypt's mysteries, one story stands out as particularly enigmatic: the ever-burning flame that once flickered in the heart of the sacred temples. Ancient accounts describe a mysterious eternal fire, one that burned without ceasing, unyielding to the ravages of time. This fire was not just a symbol, but an enduring force believed to be imbued with divine power, its light guiding the souls of the departed and protecting the sacred precincts of the gods. The Temple of Ra, the sun god in Heliopolis, was said to house such a flame, burning for centuries without the need for fuel. Some of the greatest temples in Egypt, dedicated to gods such as Osiris and Hathor, were also said to have their own versions of this eternal flame. The very idea of a fire that defied the limits of ordinary combustion is, to say the least, remarkable. For those who believed in the eternal nature of the gods, the idea of an eternal flame was no mere metaphor. It was a representation of divine presence, unwavering, constant, and ever watchful. But how could this phenomenon have been possible? Ancient Egyptian fire-making techniques, like those in many other ancient cultures, were rudimentary at best. Simple methods that involved dry tinder, flint, and other easily combustible materials. These fires, while essential for warmth, cooking, and ritual, could never sustain themselves without constant attention and fuel. The concept of a flame that never went out, however, contradicts the known limitations of fire. For thousands of years, this fire, rumoured to be unquenchable, burned in the temples, symbolising the continuous presence of the divine. It raises the question, was there something extraordinary about these fires? Something beyond what we have yet to understand? Some archaeologists believe that the key to this mystery lies in a particular substance known as natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture used by the Egyptians for embalming and mummification, but also for other purposes. Ancient texts describe natron as an essential ingredient in their rituals, and some have speculated that it may have played a part in keeping the flames alight. Could it be that the Egyptians discovered a way to create a chemical reaction that generated enough heat to keep the fire burning perpetually? In theory, certain combinations of substances could create a self-sustaining, slow-burning flame, though no definitive evidence of such a method has been found. However, more intriguing theories lean toward the possibility that the eternal flames were not merely the result of practical science or technology, but instead a form of knowledge lost to time, an ancient secret passed down through generations of priests and scribes. Was there a hidden technology known only to the priesthood that allowed the fire to burn without extinguishing? Some suggest that the Egyptians may have had access to advanced methods of energy production, techniques far beyond the scope of their time that allowed them to harness some form of perpetual combustion or even electromagnetic energy. This theory aligns with ideas that certain Egyptian temples may have been designed not only for worship, but as places where the laws of physics as we understand them could be bent to the will of the priests. One of the most commonly cited examples of these lost technologies is the so-called battery found in the ruins of Khujuraho, a site near modern-day Baghdad, where archaeologists uncovered a device that could theoretically generate electricity known as the Baghdad battery. It consists of a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and a clay jar, elements that when combined could produce a small electric charge. While this object's true purpose remains up for debate, some researchers have speculated that similar principles of energy generation could have been employed in ancient Egypt, potentially explaining the continuous flame. The temple flames, according to some ancient accounts, were not simply mundane lights, but possessed extraordinary properties. They were often linked to the concept of the Aku, or immortal souls of the gods believed to live in the light of the flame. These flames were seen not only as a physical manifestation of divine presence, but also as a symbol of spiritual illumination guiding souls from one realm to the next. Could the fire itself have been a symbol of transcendence? Its eternal nature reflects the continuity of the god's power and the indomitable spirit of Egypt itself. Then there's the possibility that the eternal flame could have been a form of psychological or spiritual technology. The ancient Egyptians were deeply concerned with the concept of Mahat. The balance and harmony of the cosmos and rituals such as the tending of the eternal flame were crucial to maintaining this order. The flame could have been in a way a beacon to maintain the stability of the divine and earthly realms. Could it have been an elemental representation of the energy that connects the heavens to the earth? An enduring force that, when properly harnessed, could ensure that the god's influence was never absent from the lives of the people. One peculiar detail often mentioned in these ancient texts is the purported practice of anointing the flame with sacred oils or resins that emitted an extraordinary fragrance. These compounds, sometimes described as aromatic substances, sometimes as a kind of sacred fire oil, were considered so potent that they could induce a state of heightened awareness or even spiritual ecstasy in the priests who tended to the flame. Some have speculated that these oils, which are rich in plant compounds, may have contained hallucinogenic properties, creating a direct connection between the flame and the altered states of consciousness sought in many ancient rituals. Could the flame have been used as a means to induce altered states of perception, allowing those who maintained it to commune more directly with the gods? And yet no definitive evidence has been found to explain how such an enduring mystical fire could have been sustained. Was it an artifact of ancient wisdom hidden deep within the sacred teachings of Egyptian priesthood, never intended to be fully understood by outsiders? Or is it simply a matter of technological knowledge that we have yet to rediscover? The fact remains that the mystery of the ever-burning flame is far from solved. In the absence of concrete answers, we are left with tantalizing questions. Could there have been a method lost to time that enabled the Egyptians to keep a fire burning perpetually, a practice passed down only to the highest-ranking priests? Was the flame truly eternal, or was it simply a carefully maintained secret? The idea that the flame might have been part of a far more profound ritual, one tied to the divine and to energies we are only beginning to understand, is as compelling as it is elusive. And as the sands of time shift and secrets are buried deeper, we are left to wonder what might still lie hidden within the ancient temples, waiting for the day when the full truth will finally emerge. As we explore the many mysteries of ancient Egypt, we often encounter tales of tombs and monuments designed to protect the dead, to preserve the sanctity of the royal burial, and to ensure the safe passage of the soul to the afterlife. Yet some tombs seem to have a deeper mystery than mere protection. These tombs were not only meant to hold the remains of the dead, but were carefully sealed, locked away with such precision and intent that they were meant to remain untouched, forgotten by all until now. One such tomb located in the Valley of the Kings has recently emerged from the shadows of history, opening up questions that even the most seasoned archaeologists can't easily answer. This tomb, believed to have been sealed for eternity, remained hidden for thousands of years, until a discovery in the 21st century would reveal its secrets to the modern world. But what makes this tomb so intriguing? And why was it sealed so tightly that despite its apparent importance, it remained undisturbed for millennia? The tomb in question is believed to belong to a previously unknown royal figure whose existence was lost to history until the tomb was uncovered. Its entrance, remarkably intact, was discovered by a team of archaeologists who had been surveying the region for several years. The tomb was not part of the typical burial practices of the time. Its design, its materials, and its very placement suggested something different. There were no grand inscriptions or elaborate decorations on the exterior to identify the owner. Instead, it was almost as if the tomb had been hidden away from the world, deliberately kept in obscurity. Upon entering the tomb, the team found that the walls were covered with strange markings, symbols that had not been seen before in other tombs of the same period. While many tombs contained scenes of gods, pharaohs, and the deceased embarking on their journey to the afterlife, this tomb was strikingly different. The images on the walls appeared to tell a story, but it was not a familiar one. Rather than depicting the familiar scenes of Egyptian religion and mythology, these images hinted at something else, something more enigmatic and potentially more ancient than any known record. Was this tomb the final resting place of someone whose legacy had deliberately erased? Was it sealed not just to protect the body of the deceased, but to ensure that whatever knowledge or artifacts it contained remained hidden forever? The deeper we look into this tomb, the more questions arise and the more we are left to wonder whether it holds a secret that could alter our understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. The tomb itself was sealed with remarkable care. Evidence suggests that it was sealed using a combination of techniques, including a heavy stone door, a layer of clay, and even magical incantations designed not only to keep the physical world out, but to ward off any attempt to disturb the spirit of the tomb's occupant. This was not a simple burial. It was a carefully constructed barrier between the world of the living and the world of the dead, where the boundary was meant to remain unbroken for eternity. But then, how did this tomb, with its remarkable ceiling and its apparent intent for eternal isolation, come to be discovered in the modern era? Could the fact that it had remained sealed for so long suggest that it was a tomb that was never meant to be found? And if so, what was its purpose? And what hidden knowledge or power could it hold? Inside, the team discovered an array of artifacts, some of which were unlike anything ever found in other tombs. Among the treasures were intricate sculptures, what appeared to be celestial maps, and mysterious objects that seemed to defy explanation. Some of the objects, when subjected to modern analysis, revealed anomalous chemical compositions, suggesting that they were made from materials that should not have been available to the Egyptians at the time the tomb was sealed. This raises the question, were the builders of this tomb privy to knowledge or materials that were outside the reach of their contemporaries? Did they have access to a source of knowledge or technology that has been lost to the sands of time? Even more puzzling are the symbolic references found within the tomb. One object in particular appears to depict an object that some have speculated could be a device of some sort, perhaps an ancient machine or artifact, potentially a tool of unknown purpose. Could the tomb's occupant have been part of a group with knowledge of advanced technology or sacred geometry? The presence of these objects suggests that the knowledge contained within this tomb might have extended beyond the realm of religious rites and into areas of science, engineering, or metaphysics that we are only beginning to understand today. As researchers delve deeper into the mystery, some speculate that this tomb was not just the burial place of a single ruler, but might represent a place where a secret order or ancient knowledge was kept, something that had to be protected and hidden from the public eye. Could this tomb be a repository of wisdom that, for reasons unknown, was deemed too dangerous to be shared with the wider world? Perhaps it was not just the physical body of the ruler that needed protecting, but the secrets they held. Secrets that, if uncovered, could change the course of history. Could it be that the tomb itself holds knowledge so powerful, so dangerous that the ancient Egyptians felt compelled to lock it away from the reach of future generations? Were the priests who sealed the tomb aware of something that we have yet to fully comprehend? Some piece of knowledge hidden within the walls that transcends the typical boundaries of ancient Egyptian belief and touches on something far more profound. Some believe that the tomb's the owner was a figure whose significance was intentionally suppressed by later rulers. Perhaps this was a political move to erase the memory of someone whose influence was considered too powerful or whose knowledge was considered too dangerous. Were they erased from history to prevent a re-emergence of their ideas, their power, or their legacy? For now, many of the questions surrounding the tomb remain unanswered. While some of its artifacts and its symbols have been catalogued and studied, the deeper meaning behind them eludes even the most skilled archaeologists. The discovery of this tomb, seemingly sealed for eternity, raises more questions than it answers. What was the true purpose of this tomb? Why was it kept hidden for so long? And most intriguingly, what knowledge might it still hold, buried beneath the layers of history, waiting to be unlocked? As the tomb's secrets continue to reveal themselves, we are left with a lingering sense of mystery. The answers may be just beyond our reach, hidden in plain sight or obscured by time and fate. But one thing remains clear: the past is not as settled as we might think. There are still places, still stories, and still secrets waiting to be uncovered, if we can only learn how to look beyond the surface and see what lies beneath. As we continue to peel back the layers of mystery surrounding ancient Egypt, we come upon perhaps one of the most remarkable and perplexing feats of engineering: the Great Pyramid of Giza. It stands, as it has for over 400-500 years, an imposing symbol of Egyptian grandeur, its towering limestone blocks reaching towards the sky. But beneath its surface of stone and history lies an enigma that has confounded archaeologists, engineers, and astronomers alike: its alignment with the true north. The Great Pyramid is not just an architectural marvel, it is a precise instrument of Gidi, its orientation aligned so accurately with the cardinal points that it defies explanation, especially when considering the tools available to the Egyptians at the time. Using nothing but simple tools like ropes, plumb bobs, and sightlines, the ancient builders managed to achieve an alignment so perfect that to this day, modern technologies are unable to replicate it with the same degree of precision. The pyramid's north-south axis is aligned within just a fraction of a degree of true north, a feat that would be impressive even by today's standards with the most advanced GPS systems and satellite imagery. The precision is staggering. The Great Pyramid's orientation is off by only 0.067 G, a margin of error so small that it's almost indistinguishable. This suggests that whoever built it not only had an extraordinary understanding of the Earth's geography, but also the ability to observe and measure the stars and the movement of the heavens with incredible accuracy. But how did they do it? The most widely accepted explanation is that the Egyptians used the stars as their guide. Ancient Egyptians were master astronomers, deeply attuned to the patterns of the night sky. One theory suggests that the alignment was achieved by observing the circumpolar stars, those that appear to circle around the North Star, which was located in a different position in the sky thousands of years ago. These stars, such as the star Thuban, were used to measure the direction of true north. The pyramid builders might have aligned the structure by tracking these stars' movements at night, using the stars' predictable motion to establish the perfect north-south axis. Yet this theory does not fully explain how such remarkable precision was achieved without the use of advanced technology. How could a civilization with no access to modern compasses, satellites, or even accurate maps align such a massive structure with such accuracy? The technology of the time, as we understand it, should not have been able to produce this kind of result. And yet, the Great Pyramid still stands as a testament to an engineering prowess that seems to transcend its time. Some have suggested that the alignment could have been achieved by using the sun. The Egyptians were also adept at solar observations, and it's possible they could have used the sun's movements, perhaps during the solstices or equinoxes, to calibrate their structures. By measuring the shadows cast at these specific times, they may have been able to determine the cardinal directions with remarkable accuracy. However, even this theory does not address the sheer precision with which the pyramid's alignment matches true north, a level of accuracy that suggests knowledge well beyond what would be expected for a civilization using only the most rudimentary tools. Another fascinating theory, though more speculative, involves the possibility of lost knowledge or technology. Some proponents of this idea suggest that the pyramid builders had access to a form of advanced technology or wisdom that has been lost to history, a technology that could have provided them with the means to measure and align the pyramid with precision beyond the capacity of their era. Could they have had access to methods of GI lost to us after the fall of ancient Egypt? In this vein, some fringe theories propose that the alignment of the pyramid may not be the result of human ingenuity alone, but perhaps of something more supernatural or even extraterrestrial. These theories often suggest that ancient civilizations were in contact with beings from other worlds, beings who possessed knowledge of astronomy and engineering that would have been unimaginable to the people of that time. The idea of extraterrestrial influence has of course been the subject of much speculation and debate, and while it remains outside the realm of mainstream archaeological thought, it adds yet another layer of mystery to the Great Pyramid's construction. However, regardless of the theories proposed, the question remains, how did the builders achieve such extraordinary precision? And more importantly, why was such precision necessary? Was the alignment simply an aesthetic choice, an exercise in religious or symbolic representation? Or was it something more, perhaps a functional aspect of the pyramid, related to its purpose as a tomb or as an astronomical observatory? The pyramid, after all, was constructed not just as a burial site, but as a grand cosmic symbol, intricately tied to the beliefs and rituals of the ancient Egyptians. Some researchers have even speculated that the pyramid's alignment might have been tied to the Egyptians' understanding of cosmic order. In ancient Egyptian belief, the pharaohs were considered divine intermediaries between the gods and the people. The pyramid, as the pharaoh's tomb, may have been designed to connect the ruler's soul to the heavens. Its precise orientation with the stars may have been intended to align the pharaoh's spirit with the cosmic forces that govern the universe, ensuring a smooth transition to the afterlife and a place among the stars. Yet, despite centuries of study, we still cannot say with certainty how the builders achieved the alignment or why it was so crucial. The tools, methods, and motivations behind this precision remain elusive, locked away in the sands of time. The Great Pyramid, standing tall amidst the vast desert, continues to challenge our understanding, its secrets still buried deep within its ancient stones. Perhaps as technology advances and our understanding of the past deepens, the answers will eventually surface. Or perhaps the Great Pyramid will always remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world, a testament to a civilization whose knowledge and accomplishments are far greater than we can fully comprehend. As we stand in awe before the Great Pyramid, we are left to ponder what truths does this alignment hold and what might it reveal about the knowledge, the power, and the vision of the ancient Egyptians. Only time will tell whether we will uncover these secrets or whether they will remain hidden, locked in place for eternity, just as the pyramid itself stands forever pointing towards the stars. As we delve deeper into the enigmatic history of ancient Egypt, one of the most perplexing and unsettling mysteries arises, a tomb discovered with great anticipation, only to vanish without a trace. It's a story that echoes through the corridors of time, a tantalizing glimpse of something extraordinary, only to fade into obscurity, leaving more questions than answers. The tomb in question was unearthed in the early 19th century during an excavation in the Valley of the Kings, a place already notorious for its rich burial sites of the great pharaohs and noblemen of ancient Egypt. The discovery itself was not entirely unusual. The valley had yielded countless tombs over the centuries, many containing treasures, sarcophagi, and artifacts that told the stories of Egypt's past rulers. But this particular tomb, seemed different. The details surrounding its discovery are sparse, almost as though the historical records surrounding it have been deliberately obscured. The tomb was said to be located near the famous tomb of Tutankhamun, which was uncovered just a few years earlier. This proximity to one of the most significant archaeological finds in history only added to the intrigue. The team of archaeologists, led by the renowned British explorer and Egyptologist Howard Carter, had uncovered what appeared to be a previously unknown burial site. The discovery was not merely of interest because of the tomb's location, but because of what was believed to be inside, inscriptions that did not match any known pharaohs. Artifacts that hinted at a ruler lost to time and architectural features unlike any seen before. For months, the team worked meticulously mapping the tomb's interior, documenting every item, every symbol. The tomb seemed to contain the burial of an unknown noble, or perhaps even a forgotten king whose name had been lost to history. But just as quickly as it had been discovered, the tomb seemed to vanish. When news first broke of the find, the excitement was palpable. This discovery could have rewritten Egypt's dynastic history, shedding light on a previously unknown chapter of the pharaoh's reign. But then, in an inexplicable turn of events, reports began to surface that the tomb had disappeared. Not just the artifacts or the treasures, no, it was the entire tomb itself. No traces were left behind. It was as if it had never existed. The official explanation, though vague, suggested that the tomb had been raided long ago, possibly by tomb robbers. But this explanation did not sit well with everyone involved in the excavation. For one, there were no signs of prior disturbance in the tomb structure. The burial chamber was pristine, the treasures were intact, and the inscriptions had not been tampered with. Additionally, the tomb's location had been meticulously documented, making its sudden disappearance all the more baffling. Theories began to emerge, each more mysterious than the last. Some claimed that the tomb had been erased from history on purpose, a deliberate act to keep its secrets hidden. But why? Who would want to erase a part of Egypt's history so thoroughly? Some speculated that the tomb was not just the burial place of a forgotten ruler, but contained knowledge that had been deemed too dangerous to remain in the historical record. Could it have been the tomb of someone whose legacy threatened the prevailing narrative of Egypt's past? Or perhaps it was the burial site of a ruler whose name had been intentionally erased by a later dynasty in an attempt to suppress their influence or power. Others speculated that the tomb might have contained something more than just royal treasures, a discovery so profound that those who found it felt compelled to keep it hidden. Could it have contained knowledge of lost technologies, hidden religious practices, or even secret rituals? Some believe that ancient Egypt, with its complex pantheon of gods and intricate systems of belief, may have held secrets that modern science is still unable to comprehend. One particularly fringe theory suggests that the tomb may have been a repository of knowledge from an ancient civilization far older than the pharaohs themselves, perhaps from a time when the Earth was very different, and advanced civilizations were capable of feats that we have yet to fully understand. Was the tomb perhaps the final resting place of an ancient priest or ruler who had access to wisdom passed down from an earlier forgotten age? Then there are those who have suggested something far more speculative. Perhaps the tomb was never meant to be found at all. Was it hidden deliberately by those who knew its discovery would disrupt the world's understanding of history? Did some force, perhaps a secret society, a group of scholars, or even the Egyptian priesthood, have a hand in ensuring that the tomb remained undiscovered, that its contents would never see the light of day? Some claim that such a society still exists today, guarding the mysteries of Egypt's past from those who would seek to uncover them. And what of the tomb's vanishing? Could it have been destroyed, buried again in a deliberate act of concealment? In the harsh desert of the Valley of the Kings, where sandstorms and shifting dunes constantly reshape the landscape, it's possible that the tomb was hidden once more by the very forces of nature. But the complete disappearance of all traces is hard to reconcile with this explanation. Archaeologists involved in the excavation were adamant that there was no indication that anything had been moved, let alone completely erased. Could the tomb's disappearance be linked to the famous curse of the pharaohs, which according to legend strikes down anyone who disturbs the tombs of the ancient Egyptian rulers? While many dismiss this as superstition, there are those who believe that the curse is more than just myth. Could the tomb have vanished as a result of this supernatural force, as an unseen hand working to protect its secrets? Or, as some have suggested, could there be a more rational explanation? An attempt to suppress knowledge that was deemed too dangerous for the world to see. The truth of the tomb's disappearance may never be known. Perhaps it will remain buried in the sands of time, just as so much of Egypt's history remains hidden from our view. And yet, the mystery persists, a tantalizing riddle that defies explanation. What was in the tomb? What did it contain? And why was it erased from history so completely? For now, we are left to wonder, to imagine the answers that may never be revealed, and to question what other secrets lie hidden beneath the surface of Egypt's ancient sands. As we continue our journey into the heart of Egypt's mysteries, the disappearance of this tomb reminds us that not all secrets are meant to be found, and some may be lost to time forever, yet the questions remain, lingering in the air like the whispers of the past, waiting to be discovered or to remain concealed. As the sun sets over Cairo, casting long shadows across the bustling cityscape, an ancient secret stirs beneath the surface, hidden from view yet intricately linked to the city's very foundation. Beneath the layers of modern life, a network of underground lakes lies buried in silence, far from the prying eyes of the world. These lakes, discovered only recently in the heart of Egypt's sprawling capital, have sparked intrigue, speculation and wonder. How could something so ancient and mysterious exist so close to the world's most famous archaeological sites? And what secrets might they hold? Cairo, with its towering buildings and crowded streets, is a city that rarely allows itself to look down. Its attention is always upward toward the glistening minarets of mosques, the spires of modern construction and the ancient pyramids that rise from the desert's edge. Yet beneath its urban sprawl, the earth harbours something else. A network of subterranean bodies of water that few knew existed until they were revealed by a series of accidents and investigations. These hidden underground lakes, some of which stretch for miles beneath the city, were first stumbled upon during construction work. Builders digging foundations for new skyscrapers and subway lines inadvertently uncovered these underground bodies of water. As the work progressed, the lakes were revealed to be not mere pockets of water, but vast and deep reservoirs, some connected to natural aquifers, others seemingly man-made. Their discovery has since become a subject of fascination as these subterranean lakes defy the expected geological and historical norms of the area. Cairo itself sits atop a land rich with history, its ancient civilization stretching back thousands of years. But how and why would a network of lakes be hidden beneath a modern city? The questions raised by their existence are as old as the city itself, leading researchers to speculate on their origins and purpose. Some argue that these lakes were formed naturally, the result of millennia of subterranean shifts and the movement of water beneath the desert's crust. But could they also be something more? Something intentionally constructed by a civilization far older than the modern Egyptians? The mystery grows deeper when we begin to consider the possibility that these lakes were deliberately created, and for reasons we have yet to uncover. A number of theories have been proposed to explain these strange underground bodies of water. One of the more accepted explanations is that they are remnants of ancient water systems, perhaps created by the pharaohs or an earlier civilization to provide a stable water supply in the desert. Ancient Egypt was known for its ingenuity in engineering and hydrology, and the creation of vast underground water channels, or lakes, would have been a remarkable feat for any society at the time. But why did these systems remain hidden for so long, only now being revealed to the world? It's possible that the lakes were once part of an elaborate irrigation network, allowing water to be channeled deep beneath the city, ensuring that the ancient capital had a reliable supply. Such systems, if indeed they were engineered by ancient Egyptians, could have been buried over time due to the encroachment of sand and the rising development of the city itself. Over centuries, the existence of these lakes could have been lost to history, as the landscape evolved and modern civilization took root on top of the ruins of the past. Yet, even with this explanation, there are more questions than answers. What if these underground lakes were not the result of human engineering, but a natural phenomenon that was harnessed and perhaps even revered by the ancient Egyptians? Some researchers believe that these lakes could have had a religious or symbolic significance. In the ancient Egyptian worldview, water was a life-giving force and the Nile River was considered sacred, direct connection between the gods and the people. Could these underground lakes have been viewed as the hidden veins of the earth? Divine source of life flowing beneath the surface, untouched and hidden from common view. Some fringe theories suggest that these lakes may not be so ordinary after all. Could they perhaps hold ancient artifacts or secrets from a civilization lost to time? There are rumours, unsubstantiated but persistent, that the lakes contain more than just water. Some claim that ancient relics, tools or scrolls have been discovered within their depths, evidence of long-lost knowledge preserved for millennia. Could these lakes be part of a grander, more mysterious plan? A hidden archive designed to preserve the wisdom of a forgotten era? Even more curious is the notion that these lakes may be tied to a deeper, more cosmic mystery. Some speculative theories suggest that the lakes could be part of a much older network of underground water systems designed to align with celestial events. Could these hidden bodies of water have been used for rituals or astronomical observations? The positioning of the lakes serving as markers for solstices or equinoxes, ancient Egyptian temples and monuments were often aligned with the stars, the sun, and the moon. So it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility that a subterranean water system could also have been part of such sacred alignments. But what of the practical side of the mystery? The lakes were found relatively close to the surface of the city, and many experts have questioned how such water sources could have remained hidden for so long in a region where water is scarce and the land has been heavily studied for centuries. How could these lakes have gone unnoticed by those who've excavated, explored, and built upon the land for generations? Could it be that they were actively concealed, hidden by those who knew of their existence, their purpose, and the potential power they held? There's also the question of the ecological impact. With the rapid growth of Cairo's urban landscape, construction continues to encroach on the city's underground spaces. As modern development pushes further into the earth, could these underground lakes be at risk? Would disturbing their delicate balance reveal more than we're ready to comprehend? For now, we are left with more questions than answers as scientists and researchers continue to explore the depths beneath Cairo. Could these hidden lakes be the remnants of an ancient hydrological system that once supported a thriving civilization? Or is there something more profound buried beneath the city's streets? Something that speaks to a lost history, a civilization far older and more advanced than we can imagine. As the investigations into the underground lakes continue, we can't help but wonder what truths lie beneath the surface of Cairo, waiting to be uncovered. The mystery persists, inviting us to look deeper into the earth and perhaps deeper into the very heart of ancient Egypt itself. The answers may be just beneath our feet, concealed in water, stone and sand, waiting for the right moment to emerge into the light. As the warm desert winds sweep across the Giza Plateau, the Great Pyramid stands steadfast, a timeless monument to the ancient Egyptian world. It is a symbol of human ambition, a feat of engineering that has baffled historians, archaeologists and scientists for centuries. Yet within the core of this extraordinary structure, there lies a lesser-known mystery. A stone, an enigma that has fascinated those who have dared to look deeper into its construction and purpose. This stone, often referred to in ancient texts and obscure legends, is said to possess extraordinary properties, among them the ability to heal. The pyramid's core is where this mystery begins, hidden deep within the heart of the monument. Unlike the outer stones carefully cut and placed to form the pyramid's precise shape, the core consists of massive blocks, some so large they would require advanced engineering techniques to move even with modern technology. It is within this heart of the pyramid that the healing stone is said to lie. But what is it? And more importantly, could there be any truth to the stories that have swirled around it for thousands of years? In ancient Egyptian texts, the pyramids were often depicted not just as tombs for the pharaohs, but as sacred sites with the power to channel energy and promote spiritual transformation. The belief that the pyramids held mysterious, almost magical properties is not new. The pyramid's alignment with the stars, its geometric precision, and its perfect relationship with the cardinal directions suggest that it may have been designed with specific astronomical and metaphysical purposes in mind. Could the core of the Great Pyramid have been more than just an engineering marvel? Could it have been built to house a stone that held an even deeper, more mystical power? Some researchers point to an ancient Egyptian artifact known as the Stone of Healing, a relic spoken of in the writings of the famous Greek historian Herodotus. The stone, according to Herodotus, was said to be kept within the pyramid and was believed to have the ability to cure ailments and even extend life. This account, though speculative, has persisted through the ages, sparking the imaginations of historians and mystics alike. What was this stone? How could it possess such extraordinary properties? One possibility lies in the understanding of energy that the ancient Egyptians may have had, an understanding that we are only beginning to comprehend today. The pyramids, after all, are precisely aligned to the Earth's magnetic fields, and the materials used in their construction, such as limestone and granite, possess unique properties that could potentially affect energy flow. Could the stone within the pyramid have been an energy conductor capable of interacting with the subtle energies of the Earth in ways that we have yet to understand? This theory draws from the broader idea that ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, may have harnessed natural forces, earth energies, magnetism, or even sound frequencies to effect healing or spiritual transformation. The healing stone, if it ever existed, might have been an object capable of focusing these energies, creating an environment that could heal the mind or body. In this context, the stone could have been part of a ritual or process that aligned the individual with cosmic energies, much like the healing practices of other ancient cultures that revered the natural world and its unseen forces. But while these ideas are fascinating, they remain speculative. The truth about the stone's properties is elusive. No stone has ever been definitively identified within the Great Pyramid's core that could be associated with such powers. Some believe that the stone in question may have been a highly valued and rare mineral, perhaps something like an early form of quartz or even a meteorite, as these objects were often regarded with reverence in ancient Egypt for their otherworldly origins. The healing properties of such a stone could also be tied to the ancient Egyptians' advanced knowledge of medicine and the human body. Could the stone have been imbued with medicinal compounds that, when placed in proximity to the body, could produce physical healing effects? The Egyptians were known for their elaborate understanding of anatomy and had a wealth of knowledge when it came to healing practices. Perhaps the stone within the pyramid was part of a grander medical tradition, an object with a more pragmatic earthly function, yet shrouded in mystery due to its rarity and importance. However, there are those who believe that the stone may have been part of a spiritual or metaphysical technology, one that transcends our current understanding of both healing and the workings of the universe. Could it be that the stone was not a physical object at all, but rather a symbol of something far more abstract, a representation of knowledge, enlightenment, or divine insight that could heal the soul rather than the body? In the ancient Egyptian worldview, the health of the body and the health of the spirit were intertwined, and the journey of the soul through the afterlife was just as important as the preservation of the body. Then there is the more fringe theory, one that suggests the stone was a tool of immense power, perhaps a relic from an advanced civilization, precursor to ancient Egypt, or even a gift from extraterrestrial beings. This idea, though too speculative and largely dismissed by mainstream historians, finds support in the writings of those who believe that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge far beyond their time. Could the stone have been an artifact of lost technology? A forgotten device capable of harnessing energy in a way that modern science can only dream of? The mystery surrounding the stone deepens when we consider its possible connection to other elements of the pyramid. The Great Pyramid, after all, is not merely a tomb, it is a structure that seems to defy conventional understanding. Its dimensions are perfectly aligned with the Earth's measurements, and the chambers within it seem to form a geometric map that corresponds to celestial bodies. Is it possible that the stone at the core of the pyramid played a central role in all of this, a key piece in the pyramid's enigmatic function? If so, what was its true purpose? And how did the ancient Egyptians come to possess such knowledge? What we do know for certain is that the story of the healing stone remains one of Egypt's greatest mysteries, a story that may never be fully uncovered. Whether it was a magical relic, a scientific instrument, or a symbol of spiritual power, the truth of the stone's nature lies buried in the sands of time. Perhaps like the pyramid itself, it will remain a riddle, an enigma to be pondered by future generations of explorers and seekers. Until then, the mystery of the pyramid's core and the stone that supposedly heals endures, inviting us to wonder what truths still lie hidden beneath the surface of this ancient wonder. As the sun sets over the desolate expanses of the Egyptian desert, the shadows of ancient relics stretch across the sand, leaving behind a mysterious imprint on history. Among the most enigmatic of these relics are a group of small, seemingly simple artifacts, clay jars that have perplexed historians, archaeologists, and engineers alike. These objects, known as the Baghdad batteries or ritual jars, have been uncovered in various locations across ancient Egypt, and their true purpose remains one of the great mysteries of the ancient world. The jars themselves are unassuming in appearance, simple unadorned clay vessels roughly the size of a modern-day wine bottle, yet their significance goes far beyond their humble design. Inside each jar, archaeologists have found a mixture of copper and iron, as well as traces of tar and other materials. These elements have led some to propose that these jars were in fact some form of ancient battery, an early attempt at harnessing electricity. But could this be true? And if so, what would it mean for our understanding of ancient Egyptian technology? The idea of the Egyptian battery first emerged in the earlier 20th century, when archaeologists stumbled upon a series of these jars often found in tombs and ancient sites. Some of the jars contained copper cylinders, while others were found with iron rods, leading researchers to speculate that they could generate a form of electric current when filled with an acidic solution. In 1938, the German archaeologist Wilhelm Koig published his famous theory proposing that the jars functioned as rudimentary galvanic cells, an ancient form of battery capable of producing a small electrical charge. The notion of an ancient Egyptian battery was intriguing, and it soon captured the imagination of scholars and the public alike. After all, the Egyptians were known for their impressive engineering feats, pyramids, temples, and other monumental structures built with a precision that still astonishes modern architects. If they were capable of such achievements, could they have also discovered the secrets of electricity long before the modern era? But as compelling as this theory may be, it is not without its detractors. Many archaeologists and scientists remain skeptical about the idea of an ancient battery. They point out that there is no conclusive evidence to suggest that the Egyptians ever used these jars for electrical purposes. No historical records or ancient texts mention anything about the use of electricity, and no direct evidence has been found linking the jars to electrical experiments or devices. Furthermore, the jars have been found in a variety of contexts, including religious sites and tombs, leading many to believe that they were in fact ceremonial or ritualistic objects rather than practical tools. One theory proposes that the jars were used in religious ceremonies, perhaps as vessels for holding sacred liquids or oils. Some suggest that the jars could have been used as part of rituals designed to communicate with the gods, acting as conduits for divine energy. The materials inside the jars, copper, iron and tar, could have had symbolic significance, representing the forces of nature, such as the power of the sun or the forces of creation. This interpretation aligns with the Egyptians' deep reverence for the natural world, as well as their belief that the gods communicated through physical symbols and objects. Another possibility is that the jars were part of a complex system of religious or alchemical practices. Ancient Egypt was home to a rich tradition of mysticism and esoteric knowledge, and it is not inconceivable that these jars were part of an ancient form of alchemy, an early attempt to transmute base materials into gold or to uncover hidden secrets of the universe. The connection between the jars and sacred rituals may be symbolic rather than functional, suggesting that they were intended to embody the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth that were central to Egyptian religion. Yet despite the arguments for their ritualistic use, the question of the jar's purpose remains unresolved. Could these objects have had a more practical function, one that transcends our current understanding of ancient Egyptian technology? The idea that the Egyptians may have harnessed electricity long before the modern era is a provocative one. Could these ancient batteries have been used in some unknown form of technology, a precursor to the devices we rely on today? The possibilities are endless, and the answers may be hidden beneath the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered. For now, the mystery of the Egyptian batteries continues to captivate those who are willing to entertain the idea that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge and technology far beyond what we currently understand. Some have even proposed that these jars could be evidence of lost civilizations, ancient cultures with advanced knowledge of electricity and energy, civilizations whose records have been lost to history. Could these batteries be a remnant of a forgotten age? A glimpse into a time when electricity was harnessed and used in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Yet, the more we delve into the mystery of these jars, the more we encounter questions that challenge our assumptions about ancient Egypt. If these objects were indeed functional batteries, how did the Egyptians acquire the knowledge to construct such devices? How did they discover the properties of electricity long before the invention of the electric generator or the light bulb? And if the jars were purely symbolic, what do they tell us about the spiritual and philosophical beliefs of the ancient Egyptians? As with many of the mysteries surrounding ancient Egypt, the answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between the scientific and the mystical, somewhere in the intersection of ancient wisdom and lost knowledge. Could the jars have served both practical and spiritual purposes? Tools for both the body and the soul, or were they simply misunderstood relics, their true function lost to time? For now, we can only speculate. The Egyptian batteries remain a riddle, one that invites us to ponder the possibilities of what the ancient Egyptians may have known, and what secrets still lie hidden beneath the sands of Egypt, waiting to be uncovered. As we continue to explore the mysteries of this ancient civilization, we are reminded that the past is not a static thing. It is a living, breathing enigma, one that may yet reveal more of its secrets if we are willing to look deeply enough. What we know for sure is that the mystery of the ancient jars is far from solved, and it is a mystery that will continue to intrigue, fascinate, and challenge us for generations to come